One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
And just real quickly, there are folks that are going to hear you say things like state-sponsored terrorism. You put out as a statement, literally, stop fucking with us, was your words. These are goons. And they'll say that is raising the temperature and actually puts some of this law enforcement officers in greater danger. What do you say to that?
I said what I said.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Katina Taylor, Catina, last name Taylor, Taylor. I am an educator in Minneapolis Public Schools and the president of the Educational Support Professionals chapter of the Minneapolis Federation of Educators. Let me make one thing crystal clear before we go any further. We need ICE out of Minneapolis now. We need ICE out of Minnesota now. We need ICE away from our schools now. Since arriving, ICE has been a dangerous and out of control force, putting every Minnesotan in danger. A mother was murdered. An elementary school was forced to lock down. Grown men used pepper spray on terrified high school students on school property. And that was just on Wednesday. This is the opposite of protecting our kids. This is the opposite of keeping the peace. Nothing about this is okay. Nothing. As educators, we give everything that we have to support and protect Minnesota's next generation. We need our federal government to do the same. Our schools should be a safe place for students and educators to learn and work. As long as ICE is in Minnesota, we won't be safe. Nope.
Need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Yes, I need all of you to right now stop what you're doing and listen and watch. You see, for the last 2 or 3 days, we've been fed pablum. We've been fed blood. If it bleeds, it leads. We've been fed all kinds of crap to distract from what really matters. And I know the immigration stuff matters. I'm not trying to euphemize a woman losing her life, but I'm going to ask you a very direct question. And this question might be hard for some people to answer. With what happened in Minnesota over the last couple days, with everything you've seen 24/7 on television, over and over, no matter what channel you turn it on, did you see anything that improved your life? Was there anything that you watched that you could step away from it and go, yeah, my life is going to be better now because I know this. My family's life is going to be better because I know this. If you're honest with yourself, if you look yourself in the mirror or hold up your camera to your face, the answer to that question is hell no, which is exactly what they want. They, meaning the black pillars on the right, the rhinos, and of course the libtards. They don't want you seeing how good life is and can be. They don't want you knowing that this president that you voted for is just kicking butt and taking names. You would turn on the news right now and everything you see looks like Armageddon. And even myself, I caught myself in this and going, wait a second, there's more to this. There is so much more that I want to talk to Ashley about and talk to Robin about and even talk to my grandkids and my friends and saying, look what's happening. So I tell you, stop what you're doing, pick up a pad, grab a pen, maybe watch this video twice, even though we're going to be here for about 2 hours on a Friday evening. I thought now would be a perfect time because right about now, I think President Trump is in the air, flying down here to Palm Beach, and he's got nothing on his schedule tomorrow, but that probably means hell's going to just break loose again because things seem to happen when he's in the air, or actually down here. So if you haven't, you're like, Barry, what the hell are you talking about? This afternoon, President Trump had a conference with oil company executives. And I wanted to wait. I didn't want to show it live because I figured if I showed it live, I couldn't take questions. I couldn't talk to you because it would be showing. By recording it and having it now, I felt, you know what? There are going to be people who want some questions answered. And I'm going to do my best to do that as well because it was absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. But you had to understand what's going on here. And so I'm going to let you hear, and not let you, I'm going to show you everything he had to say, including the press questions afterwards, so you can see for yourself where that puck is going. It's not here in Minnesota. That puck is not sitting in the snow and ice and blood in Minnesota. That puck is over here. You guys go ahead, take care of whatever investigation you need to take care of. I'm going to go talk to these oil guys, is what President Trump said today. I'm going to do everything I can to make America great again. Keep doing what you're doing. I approve. Get it done. Let's go. I got things to do to make people feel much better. And the news just kept coming. Let's listen to this.
Average rate on the popular 30-year fixed mortgage dropped sharply, 22 basis points to 5.99%, and it hasn't been that low since the start of February 2023, according to Mortgage News Daily. Now, this came after President Trump posted on social media late yesterday that he is instructing mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to buy $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed bonds. So the so-called MBS. Now, that gave stocks in the residential housing sector a big boost. The home building ETF ITB up over 6%. That includes names like Lennar, Pulte, and D.R. Horton. But even home remodeling names like Sherwin-Williams, Home Depot, and Lowe's. And take a look at Open, which will buy your home from you directly. It's been super volatile lately, but a big lift on that today. We're already seeing some MBS pull back a little bit from this morning. And again, we still don't have any idea when and how this bond buying will actually happen.
All right, so if you were watching the show yesterday, I told you the news that came out that he was going to use Fannie and Freddie and was going to buy a bunch of mortgages. Reason I tell you this stuff is one, for you to hear it. Number two, for you to digest it. And number three, if you're in a position, you can act on it. President Trump, as you just heard Diana Olick say from CNBC, immediately after he announced it yesterday, the mortgages got cheaper. So if you're in the market for a home or you want to get a home equity line of credit, things are going to be easier for you to access capital to do some of the other stuff with. Nobody's talking about it. Obviously, CNBC, their business is money. Their business is talking about what's going on in the market. If you look at just what President Trump posted today, President Trump didn't post anything about Minnesota. This was one of his posts today. He says, Art Laffer and Stephen Moore, a couple economists, have written an incredible book, The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity. Again, in just under 1 year, thanks to our use of tariffs, our nation's national and economic security is stronger than ever before. Trillions of dollars of investment and jobs are pouring into our country. Our trade deficit is reaching record lows. Our nation's GDP is skyrocketing past 5%. In that one sentence, most people who are chasing the Minnesota stuff have no idea what he just said. No idea when he said our trade deficit is reaching record lows and our nation's GDP is skyrocketing past 5%. If you don't know what those bellwether means, you are going to be left behind. You will not be able to skate to where the puck is going. So I urge you to understand what gross domestic product, GDP, and what a trade deficit actually means. I'm going to help you with some of that as we move forward tonight. Art and Stephen understand the America First policies required to save our nation from ruin and make it greater, richer, and stronger than ever before. Get your copy of the great book. Let me go back. Understand the America First policies required to save our nation from ruin. See, a country cannot be great unless it has the resources, prosperity to do what it needs to do. And so what you're seeing right now, and the reason why the Democrats are honed in on Minnesota and the woman losing her life, because they don't have anything else to talk about. They've lost this to Trump. They hate it. They hate the fact, you think they hate America? They hate the fact that Americans are looking to prosper. You've seen the videos I showed you yesterday, some of the idiots that are protesting in Minnesota. They don't have any clue. It's a ragtag bunch of whatever that have nothing better to do than walk around the street, hold up a sign, and do crazy stuff. And they're okay with it. So if you're okay with doing nothing and sucking off the government and just having your hand out, then this show is probably not going to be for you. If you're on the other hand, you're like, show me how this is going to make my life better. That's what I'm about to do. In addition, President Trump said, and this was prior to the meeting today, obviously, today the United States of America, in coordination with the interim authorities of Venezuela, seized yet another oil tanker which departed Venezuela without our approval. This tanker is now on its way back to Venezuela, and the oil will be sold through the great energy deal which we have created for such sales. Thank you for your attention to this matter, which is really important. This boat left Venezuela without our permission. And the interim authorities, They took it back. We'll take the oil back. So obviously there are some rogue people in Venezuela, and President Trump and whatever government is working with him, they seized it, they brought it back, and now they're going to sell the oil, which is going to benefit, obviously, United States and the Venezuelan people. Next thing is, this is prelude to the actual meeting today. The largest oil companies in the world are coming to the White House at 2:30. Everybody wants to be there. It's too bad that the ballroom hasn't been completed. They couldn't fit all the executives that wanted to be there. If it were, it would be packed. We apologize to those oil companies that we cannot take in today, but Secretary of Energy Chris Wright and Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum will see them over the next week. Everyone is in daily contact. Today's meeting will almost exclusively be a discussion on the Venezuelan oil and our long-term relationship with Venezuela, its security and its people, and its oil. A very big factor in this involvement will be the reduction of oil prices for the American people, which is going to be great right now as it's still cold up in points north and up in the Midwest. If you get that heating oil down, that's even another benefit for people. Additionally, and perhaps most importantly of all, will be the stoppage of drugs and criminals coming into the United States. Thank you for your attention. So when people say they don't see how they benefit, you just saw the benefit. It's gonna mean cheaper gas, and it's gonna mean cheaper heating oil for people as well. And you can probably put groceries in there because the big trucks have to fill up. And then it started last night, but now it's picking up steam as well. I look forward to having a meeting with Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, in the White House during the first week of February. I'm sure it will work out very well for Colombia and the USA, but cocaine and other drugs must be stopped from coming into the United States. Cuba, you're on deck. So what you're seeing is the Don Roe doctrine actually being applied. You're seeing the Trump corollary actually being applied. And now the head of the five families, the oil companies, all come in and go, how are we divvying this up? How are we all going to get to dip our beaks into this big pool? Democrats can't take it. In fact, there was one stupid Democrat today that said cheaper oil was bad. And I'm thinking to myself, how brain dead must you actually be to actually believe that? It's impossible. Anthony, in regards to the inflation, this came out from Anthony Pompliano. Inflation is falling off a cliff. You can't see the graph. The Federal Reserve should be lowering interest rates yet again. Look at how inflation is falling. Lower interest rates, I think it's self-explanatory, as you know what that means. I wanted to show you this one. The interest rate on a 30-year mortgage in the United States is officially below 6% for the first time since 2023. Millions of home buyers will get the relief they deserve. Look at this mortgage table in terms of where interest rates were and where they are right now. These are the things that if you're not paying attention, you don't see and don't know. I ain't even going to tell you what's going on with gold and silver. Actually, I'll tell you let me tell you where silver is today. And this isn't part of a commercial. This is just some education on everything. Want to bring you up to speed on that. Silver right now is at 79.79, about to hit 80 once again. And then over the weekend, it will drop because they're trying to suppress it. And as soon as the next week comes, it's going to go right back up again. No doubt. They can't change the rules of supply and demand. Those are immutable. You have to watch supply and demand. Peter St. Onge had something very interesting to say, and this is where we're going to head here. El Arian, this is the guy talking. He's an economic advisor. Says consumers aren't paying tariffs; they're being absorbed by exporters and importers. I've been predicting this for a year and caught a lot of crap for it from other economists. The Democrats kept saying over and over and over that the tariffs were going to have to be paid by Americans. And now, finally, this far in, that's not the case at all. The Americans are not absorbing the cost of these tariffs. But they don't know it because nobody is watching and paying attention to the actual data. And a big thing happened before I get into more stuff. One big thing that happened is that the Supreme Court was supposed to rule today on the tariffs. They kicked the can. They're like, well, we might talk about it next week. So they didn't rule on the tariffs, which immediately had people thinking we might be okay. We might be okay. But I'm going to tell you right now, because you may hear stuff over the next week that's, contrary, that even if the Supreme Court goes against Trump with the tariffs, this Venezuelan deal could be so strong that it overcomes that. And we'll talk about that when it happens or if it doesn't happen. So I want you guys to get prepared. We're going to talk about some stuff. I've got some video to show you. We're going to dig into a lot of what happened yesterday and today. It's absolutely amazing. I will be back in, 2 minutes. Let me just ask you, what's one thing you notice about your body changing as you've gotten older? What has that one thing done to you, and how has it affected your approach to health or recovery? And I can tell you, for me, it's feeling my knees and lower back ache from years of powerlifting and football. I mean, every single day, my knees and my lower back, especially from sitting in this chair, have hurt until I figured out certain things I had to do with my diet, not medicine, to get it fixed. I've tried a lot of remedies over the years, even medical marijuana, but that sucked because it wasn't really medical marijuana. I was just getting high. And and the pain didn't go away. It just, you're high, so you don't feel anything. And then when you're not high anymore, it's like us. It's right there. It sucked. It absolutely sucked. It's a Band-Aid. Turns out the secret to healing, recovery, and resilience isn't just luck. Don't get scared off here. It's not the same kind, but it's stem cells. These are your body's built-in repair crew. But as we age, that system slows down, fewer cells, weaker signals, slower recovery. This is exactly why Qualia stem cell was created. Your cells are powerful. Make sure they stay that way with Qualia's innovative new stem cell formula. Think of stem cells as your body's repair crew, and Qualia stem cell helps them just do their job better. It's crafted with nature's most powerful healers like sea buckthorn and royal jelly. So you're ready to take on what's next. You don't have to accept slowing down. You can help your body renew itself by reactivating the systems that keep you moving, healing, and thriving with Qualia's stem cell formula. You only need to take it 4 days a month. That's it. And it preserves your body's regenerative capacity over time. It really does. And so if you ever felt like your body just doesn't respond, it doesn't bounce back like it used to when you were 30, whether it's after a tough workout, whether it's after being sick, or just the wear and tear of everyday life, this is for you. Qualia Stem Cell was designed to support your body's natural repair systems, helping you heal, recover, and keep going strong. And right now you can try it for up to 50% off at qualialife.com/Barry. And here's a bonus. If you use the code Barry, you get an extra 15% off everything on your order. That's qualialife.com/Barry. Your body is built to repair itself. Qualia just helps it do it better and faster. And a big thanks to Qualia for sponsoring tonight's episode.
My God, we just got a report from the Fed Atlanta Bank that says we grew at 5.3% in the fourth quarter. This is an absolutely booming economy right now.
For 25 years, we've seen the collapse of the Venezuelan regime, everything going the wrong direction. A totalitarian socialist dictatorship, what could go wrong? Everything has gone wrong, and conventional approaches to try to stop it have simply not worked. This is Trump being Trump, thinking out of the box, doing this an entirely different way. A large military force is down there to enforce sanctions that were already in place, just simply not enforced. Now with this blockade, he's enforcing the sanctions, and guess what? We've got wildly different leverage now. We've got a Venezuelan government that wants to work with the United States, that wants to try to end the corruption and snuff out all the problems in their country. Or at least they're going to work constructively with us, because that's the only way they get oil revenue. This is using military force without firing bullets, without soldiers on the ground, but getting the full impact of that force. So I think we're going to see a very, very positive change in the trajectory of Venezuela, which is great for that country, but it's tremendous for the American people. It's going to push down energy prices as all this oil now is going to be able to come to market again. It's going to reduce the drugs, the criminality, the gun running, the kidnapping of American citizens, and all the indignities and all the disruption we've suffered in American society. I think it's going to come to an end.
Now, see, that's exactly why the Democrats have a problem. Everything he just mentioned, Democrats don't make money. Deep state doesn't make money by conventional means. What he just said, they stopped. They're stopping the drug running. They're stopping the trafficking. They're stopping, all the crazy stuff that the underworld was doing to drive into America to hurt Americans. It would have been so easy if presidents have been doing this forever. If they're like, hey, listen, why don't we just help make America prosperous? Why don't we just try to work with these other countries that are resource rich, and let's bring in some of these resources so that at this point, we're all dipping our beak. We're all getting a taste of this, and it's going to make all of America prosperous. They intentionally, and this is the problem with the other side, they intentionally decided no, they'd rather work with the illicit activities. If we're going to traffic kids, if we're going to do drugs, if we're going to run guns, that stuff that's in the underbelly of America that is only going to profit a few. Understand it. That was a complete choice. Hey, we can do this and make all of America enjoy prosperity. Let's run guns, people, and drugs. And then we still get the money, but we could do all kinds of different things, and the rest of the country doesn't prosper. And then let's institute some sort of mind screw to let people know that prosperity isn't good. And then on top of that, let's then tell them we need to take even more of your hard-earned money so that we can do some of the stuff we want to do in other countries. And I'm wondering to myself, were there people sitting around in rooms who said, well, why would we do that to the American people? Why wouldn't we just be above board, reduce taxes for everybody, or eliminate taxes and just be above board? With everything you've seen with the, Somali stuff and everything else, why did people go to such extent to destroy America? Because they only wanted certain people to profit. Why do they hate Trump? Because he's opening the coffers. They're calling him corrupt when it's actually been them who's been corrupt. Venezuela has had oil forever. The oil just didn't show up because Trump showed up. So why is it that now this president, that one man, is going down there and said, nope, different game. We're going to bring it up to the surface. We're going to get rid of the illicit activities, and you're going to be a happier country. Your people are going to be a happier country, and we're going to be a happier country. You won't need to sell guns and people and drugs. That's a novel concept. We can just all be prosperous together. Yes, join me here in this Western Hemisphere. You see, one of the things that they're probably not talking about because they don't want it known for military purposes, but I bet you there's a certain amount of protection that's going to go in to Venezuela. And do business with us, be above board. You're going to cash in. You're going to be protected. No other countries are going to come here and bother you. And you guys are going to be rich beyond your wildest dreams, and nobody's going to bother you. When they got rid of Maduro and the woman was sworn in as the president, people were worried that it was going to be more of the same. What changed? Well, if I walked into your office and said, I know what you've been doing. I know exactly what you've been doing. I know what your boss Maduro was doing. You guys have been screwing us over for cash. You wanted to get rich. What if you still got rich? What's the difference? And they probably looked around the room. Wait a minute, what are you saying? You've been getting rich with the bad stuff. What if you got rich with the good stuff? And nobody will bother you, and we'll protect you. You can pull out as much oil out of the ground as you need. We'll have other companies come in here and help you. They're going to invest $100 or $200 billion into your economy, and you can still take whatever you want off the top. But now you don't have to be screwing us with, drug runners and everything. How do you say no to that? And we'll protect you. Oh, we could do that? Yes. Why has no other president come? I don't know. I can't explain that to you. They're crooked. They're Democrats. They want it's such an easy deal. I could imagine if I went there, what I would offer somebody who really doesn't need anything. They just need the freedom to do what they need to do.
Well, the expectation today is to have a great conversation about the opportunity to continue President Trump's agenda, which his agenda, of course, has been always about the safety and security, national security of our country. That begins with you can't have national security without border security. You can't have national security without energy security. So that's going to be on the table. And, of course, the prosperity of America, that's based on energy as well, because if without a plentiful, abundant, reliable, secure energy, you're going to have the inflation like we saw in the previous administration. President Trump is turning that around. So this is really at the core, it's a discussion about peace in the world and prosperity at home. And what an opportunity, economic opportunity to restore normal relations with Venezuela. And for companies, including many of these that had operations in Venezuela for decades ago, when Venezuela was a big economic partner to the United States before its collapse, get a chance to return to that. So looking forward to it. It's an exciting day and lots of interest in coming to the meeting today. There are not enough seats in the room in terms of executives that wanted to join in the meeting today with President Trump.
Now, one of the things as you're listening to him talk that should be triggered in your mind is the contrast. Again, I use that word a lot, contrast. When people actually step back and see where they are, and then look, well, why did we do that last year or 2 years ago? The Democrats can't get away from that. So their focus is over here. It's completely trying to get you, look over here, but no, look over here. The people are getting shot and all this other stuff, and ICE is doing this and that. And I told some people today, how much time did you invest into following what was going on with this woman? How much time, to the contrast, did you spend learning about how the different economic strategies President Trump was doing was going to improve you or your family's life? And then you can just do it simply and go, how much time do you see the network spending on it? And then when you do those three questions, then the next question is introspective and say to yourself, why not? Why are they not talking about this? Why are the smaller networks, Fox Business and CNBC, and then you have to go digging for this? Why is the algorithm such that if you start looking about everything that happened with this woman getting shot, that's all you're going to see? If you look at AOC's video where she's calling J.D. Vance a bad, blaming him, you're going to see more of that. So the object here is to change your focus, and you'll see a different type of content in your feeds. The machine, the algorithm only knows to feed you what you're eating. And if you're eating all this stuff about illegals and what happened in Minnesota and the wife and the dog and all, you're going to keep getting that content. You need a cleanse. You need a body cleanse if you want to. Otherwise, you can keep still watching that stuff.
So we're going to control the oil, and we're going to control the disposition of the oil. Are those fair statements? Are they reported? Are they correct?
100% accurate, Larry. Absolutely. And not only are we going to control the oil that's coming out of Venezuela, part of the Venezuelan heavy crude, it relies on a diluent or a diluent to be able to both produce and ship that product. That diluent has been coming from Russia, like a light sweet crude that they can mix to improve the quality of the Venezuelan heavy crude to make it manageable. But where that's going to come from now, that's all going to come from the U.S. So we've also knocked Russia out of this market, replaced it. It's going to be replaced by U.S. providers.
I had to stop him because, again, I doubt you hear this stuff. So we just had a oil war, if you want to say. We didn't have a type of war where we're over there dropping bombs or anything. We had an oil war, and we just won it. And you see what's going on with, I hope you see what's going on in Iran, and the world is changing right before your eyes. The entire power structure of the world is changing. And if people aren't careful, they're looking at the wrong stuff and not seeing what's coming. President Trump is changing this country into an economic superpower right before your eyes.
And so this is a win for all the refiners in the U.S. It's a win for consumers. People are going to see over time lower gas prices still because of our ability to tap into this Venezuelan heavy crude, what our refineries in the U.S. were built around 20 years ago. And then that market was destroyed by the corrupt leadership in Venezuela. But that's all.
And that wasn't by accident. For 20 years, everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, dictators, Hugo Chavez, Maduro. What happened? If you've ever seen the pictures of what people in Iran used to look like before they had to put on the whole hood, how people enjoyed prosperity. Somebody sat back, or a bunch of people sat back and said, this isn't, we can't do this. These people are making too much money. They don't need us. We can't win elections and force our way on people who don't need the government. And so it changed. And it turned into this thing where they needed hamsters on the wheel. And they would do anything to keep those hamsters continually going to work 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, paying their taxes, not really getting much of a change in their life, not even looking to get much of a change in their lives. How many people do you know that you sat down with? I got a great example. My brother-in-law, Robin's brother, was a superintendent at a construction company. And, he saw me doing some things on my own in real estate and everything. And one day, I think it was at his wedding, he came up and he goes, I have an opportunity to open my own construction company. And nobody around me wants me to do it. Not his father. Nobody wanted him to do it. His friends were like, no, man, you got a great job. You're fine. You'll have that job forever. But the spirit in people wants to do more, but they just need that nudge, that push off the cliff. And I remember asking him, okay, you got a decision to make because you obviously want to do it. And your decision is pretty simple. What's your upside? What's your downside? If you quit and open and go for it, upside will take care of itself. If you fall flat on your face, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, the guy said he would hire me back. He had a good boss. I'm like, well, that answers your question. Go for it. Now he's one of the biggest builders in the state of North Carolina. All because the mindset, no one had ever told him he could do something like that on his own. Most people are trained not to be entrepreneurial in nature. And so what President Trump, as a businessman and then surrounding himself with businessmen, he's giving people the ability to have a completely different outlook on life. The Democrats don't like that. They need you on the plantation. And so they have to keep feeding you the hay so that you don't look and see the caviar.
Back. That's great news for every American consumer. And like you said, energy is a component of everything. The clothes you wear, the food on your table, the gas in your car. When those prices come down, everything comes down. And we're looking at a gangbuster 2026 economically ahead of us.
And it's January. I had to check the calendar. It's January 2026, and all of this is happening in the first 9 days. So again, where's that puck headed? If what you're seeing is happening just in the first 9 days, how are you setting yourself up to be prepared for the other 356, 57 days? What are you doing? Because if this is going to be the normal, the new normal, where we're going to keep getting deals and doing stuff to build prosperity, what are you going to be doing to actually enjoy it yourself, for you, your family, your grandkids, whoever? That's a situation where people need to start sitting back on their own and go, okay, I understand what President Trump's going to do. I've never seen this before. And that's where it's scary, because if you've never seen it before, if you haven't seen that this kind of stuff can happen, you're not going to find out by looking on Twitter and talking to black pillars and pollsters. And don't worry about the polls. The polls don't change your life. If you keep looking at fraudulent posters and people bitching, come November, if something were to happen, you're toast. You should be focused. Well, I invite you to focus on stuff that, you know what, you could become financially agnostic. See, that's a term somebody taught me a long time ago, that you win no matter what happens. Imagine being in a position where someone says to you, yeah, but, things could turn around and go the other way. Well, guess what? You still make money. And I'm not, again, let me just preface it before people start saying it in the chat about love of money. That's not it. There's no love of money. It's what money can do for your life. If you hate it, give it away. Absolutely give it away. You don't have to steal it, don't have to do anything, but he's giving you a roadmap, as well as Howard Lutnick, too.
What we came up with was $550 billion. That this is not foreign direct investment. This is not Toyota building a factory in America. This is, they literally will finance any project we want to build in America, as long as it's like a good cash flowing project. Nuclear. We want to build $100 billion of nuclear plants. They will pay for it. So what happens is they'll borrow the money on like a 30-year bond in Japan.
So the Japanese government goes and raises the $550 billion from their domestic bondholders.
From their domestic bondholders.
Right. So they're an LP to you, and you're the GP.
Exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
All right, stop, Howard. Stop. They're throwing out terms that people, for the most part, don't understand. What's a GP? What's an LP? GP, general practitioner, LP, limited part, general partner, limited partner. What's the difference between a general partner and a limited partner? If you didn't take that stuff in high school and understand it, again, you're lost. They're talking a language that most people don't understand. They're going to take out a $550 billion loan. They're going to do the amortization over 30 years. We're going to cut this. And just imagine, here's what I'd like you to do. And even with this one clip, imagine if you're sitting there listening to Howard Lutnick and you're the one having a conversation with him. Do you turn off and get glassy-eyed? Or do you go, wait. What did he just say? And I know he used a number that was $550 gazillion, but just imagine he said 1,000. Because how he's going to explain the setup with Japan is the exact same way you could set up a deal on a much smaller business. It doesn't have to be $560 gazillion. The terms and how he gives you the structure here, GP, general partner, LP, limited partner, who's putting up what? Some people have read the get rich story books about, no money down buying real estate. That's absolutely freaking true. Kinda. You see, doing no money down deals means somebody else is putting up the money down. It's still coming. You, as the LP, the limited partner, goes and finds the deals and do things, and the GP, they're the ones who put the money. So as you hear him describe what they're going to do with Japan, imagine you're sitting back going, can I do that? Because you can. You just don't know how. And these guys are giving gazillion-dollar summits here, and all you've got to do is just learn to follow the directions.
They're an LP. They give us the equity.
Yeah.
We build the nuclear power plant, and then it starts selling power, and we split the cash 50-50 until they get back their money plus their interest. So that means in 30 years, the taxpayers of Japan broke even. And their dividend was a reduced tariff. That every day they had a lower tariff, they have more employment, they had this and that. And you know what? What's their stock market's up? 20s?
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
Not down.
Yeah.
Up. So, that's the point, which is it didn't cost their taxpayers money over time. Right now, it's pretty simple to understand how much we're going to make. You'd say, well, if it's $550 billion and their interest rates are pretty low, so let's say over 30 years, you're going to get $650 billion when we...
Okay, stop. It's rolling off his tongue, and I know people are like, wait, what did he just say? Okay, so let me just break it down to smaller numbers. Instead of it being Japan, it's your next door neighbor. Your next door neighbor got a little bit of windfalls, got some cash, and said, listen, I got this deal. I want to open up this pizzeria, and not a good idea, but I want to open up this pizzeria. I don't have the money to put up. Okay, so what do you want me to do? Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to put up the money, and we'll go 50-50 on the profits. Not good enough. All right, 50-50, and you get this much interest. Not good enough. 50-50 until you get all your money back. And then after you get your money back, then we get a different deal. And so if they think you know what you're doing, they think you understand how to do it, you're getting in with a very limited investment. You've got a partner who's going to pick up the money, and they're going to get 50% plus of your business, which isn't a bad deal because your 50% is much bigger than 50% of nothing. It's much bigger than 50% of watching old Jerry Springer reruns. You now have the ability to go out and open a pizzeria. Not really. Don't do a pizzeria, but you get my gist here. Like, wow, I need $200,000 to open this pizzeria. I ain't got it, but I know how to make some damn good pizza. Hey, Fred, you want to put up the money? What's the deal? You get 50-50 plus interest. Okay. And dividends. Okay. And so now he's got $200,000 sitting in a bank or an IRA that's giving him like 6%, and you just went 6% versus 50%. Now, if you know what the hell you're doing, Jimmy next door is saying, even if I lose, even if he doesn't get me the 50, if he falls short and gets me, 25%, I'm still doing better than it was doing sitting in a CD or whatever. You, on the other hand, need to go out and bust your ass and make sure that the next door neighbor gets his money back. And that's what he's explaining to you.
Pay them back $650 billion. If you say to me, how much did America make? I would say $650 billion, because we split the money 50-50.
Yeah, exactly.
And after they get their money back, because nuclear power plants last a long time, then the cash flow goes 90 to America and 10 to Japan.
And when you say...
All right. So he's like, after we've paid you back, because now the next door neighbor is like, hey, so what happens when you pay off the loan? You're not going to need me anymore. I don't want that. I don't want you to start your business, pay off your loan, and then I just get a couple percentages and I'm outside the door. No. You're still in. You still get 10%. Now it reverts. Instead of 50-50, I get 90 and you still get 10% for nothing. In perpetuity? Yep, forever. As long as I'm still in business, you will get 10%. After you're paid back. That's what he just described.
To America, is there an account? How does that money then get spent or allocated or?
The only bank the United States of America has, as far as like the Secretary of Commerce sees, is called Treasury.
Treasury.
So we have accounts at Treasury and all the money goes into Treasury. So all the tariff money goes into Treasury. All this money just goes into Treasury. So it reduces our deficit. And it is taxes paid by others.
Right.
In 1985, we had net ownership of the rest of the world. So comparing the rest of the world's ownership of America and our ownership of them, that counts everything, their bonds, company
Real
stock,
estate, everything.
We were net an investor of $148 billion, more of them than they owned of us. Fast forward to 2024, 26 trillion the other way.
I hope you understood that. In 1985, we were dominant in the financial markets. Absolutely dominant. And in 20 years, we went from being the dominant big dog in the world financially to owing $26 trillion. How did that happen? Well, it was intentional. Anybody with any sort of calculator and looking at what happened, that couldn't happen. You started using your credit cards too much. You started paying off Aunt Sally and giving everybody money. She's not working, but let me give her $1,000. And then your house can't pay your own bills. And then because you can't pay your own bills, if you're the government, you just start printing them. And that cycle continues, and the Democrats love that cycle. They love the fact that we can't pay our bills.
Wow. They own 26 trillion of us. More than we own of them.
What you're saying is we became effective employees of the people that were producing the things that we created.
Right. So when we call, so the beginning, so Donald Trump says we're getting ripped off. We need to fix this. Mm-hmm. Right. And sort of like these junior economists fight it and say, no.
Let me just stop for a second. That is the first time I've heard that. It is an extremely elegant framing, actually. It sets up an incredibly powerful way to measure the effectiveness of tariffs.
Right.
Which is, and is that how you think about it? Which is
yes.
That imbalance is the North Star?
Yes.
Once we own at least the same of them as they do of us.
That's balance.
That's balance.
Okay, so now you're getting a little insight into what Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent and Trump came up with, how they devised this and said, we don't have to go too far overboard. We just need to bring things into balance, and we're going to be so prosperous you won't even imagine, because we are one of the biggest consumers in the world. People are going to want Americans to consume their products. All we had to do, as President Trump kept saying it, is make it fair. The Democrats had put things in place so that it could never be fair, so that it always favored another country someplace else. We were always going to be the debtor, the person borrowing to do business anywhere. Even with NATO, President Trump has said it so many times. He gets president, he's like, well, how come you guys ain't paying? You're supposed to be paying this much. Why are we the ones forking out all the cash and you're not even paying us? There's no balance. We're not trying to be bullies. Just pay us what you owe us. Now imagine that for a decade of us just paying and nobody ever paying their bills. That's what we're seeing right now.
Right. And right now we're at a $26 trillion.
Like, why would we have that? So what happens is you call a country up and you say, I'm going to set a tariff. They say, wait. Before you set a tariff, how about this? We'll invest $200 billion in your country. And Toyota will build a factory and Siemens will build a factory and they'll all build a factory. And I'm like, you're just buying us.
Right.
You're literally buying us. I understand. What's better for you? Investing $200 billion in America or investing $200 billion where? Where's better than investing here?
President Trump has talked about this. He said that as you kind of execute the tariff plan and extract this incremental capital, you could see a ratable reduction in income taxes. Is that the right way to think about this? Or do you think there are other ways to spend the money first that we need to before we can?
Who paid for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security? Right?
Tariffs.
The puck is headed that way. If in 1 year he got to the point where who paid for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, they're building the model. Well, the tariffs took care of that. Wow, so that's going to work. We got that balance. We're bringing in the money that we're cutting off from other people. You don't need to pay the income tax on tips. Okay, we just need to bring in more. It's simple checkbook management. We're going to be spending this. We're going to give this person, you don't have to pay us, which means that money's got to be made up someplace. Well, we'll just charge you. And you'll gladly pay it because you want to do business in America. It makes complete sense. And so that's how they're going to build the proposition of doing away from income tax. Now, this is going to be the fight for our lives because the Democrats realize at that point, if people don't have to pay income tax, they are never going to be able to turn that clock back. They would literally have to send armies into your house. If people just sniff it and they figure out we don't have to pay income tax, that's why I think all of this stuff is now being exposed. We're here, we're up here. We're like, I am so sick of these flipping people stealing our money. I am so sick that these Somalians got off a boat and ended up finding a way to take $600 billion. Why did Americans get that? I mean, I think every single one of you would like to have a fake daycare center. Why did you do it with the Somalians? And so as Scott Bessent and they're clawing this money back, that pile gets bigger to the point where a 5 or 6% GDP, are you effing kidding me? If you remember back to when Trump and Hillary were running, and Obama said, we have to get used to the new normal. A 1% GDP is about the best we can expect. This guy, Donald Trump, what's he got, a magic wand? They were trying to get you used to the fact that we're going to be broke. We can't do that. That ship has sailed. We'll never be able to go past 1 or 2% GDP. What's Donald Trump got, a magic wand? No, he just knows what the hell he's doing, and he knows what the hell they were doing.
So that's a down payment.
Right.
Right? But that's the idea. We should be able to reduce the tax burden from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Right? Help Americans who make less than $150,000, who earn overtime, who earn tips. Let's reduce their tax burden. Right? Let's help them. And that's, by the way, that's 85% of America. It's not like it's a subset. And so I think the president is deeply focused on using the power of his administration to right a whole bunch of wrongs. Our fourth quarter GDP will be 1.5 points lower than it otherwise would be for this oddity.
Just the furlough. That's 150 basis points.
So like the common economists think the fourth quarter growth is going to be 1 point. Okay? They're just like wrong. I said they were wrong in the third quarter. I said they were wrong in the second quarter. We have a 3.8 and then 4.3. We'll probably be like 2.5.
But that would have been, to your point, 4.
4.
Right.
Next year with all this construction in the ground. Like this Friday, I'm flying up to New York to Micron's groundbreaking of their tens of billions of dollar factory in upstate New York. That's just another example, right? Then I'm going to Detroit, where they're doing a huge, new build, new auto plant, and they're building their engine plant, and it's just fives. You're going to see fives in the greatest economy in the world. You're going to see fives. And people think, you can't.
I mean, 5% GDP on a base this big is just, it's enormous.
Right. We have a $30 trillion, so 5% is $1.5 trillion in growth. And if we cut rates, you'll see 6s.
All right, so now you know why getting rid of Jerome Powell is so important. If we can cut the rates, we will see a 6 GDP, which is incredible. Somebody posted something. I want to take a second. I normally wouldn't do this. And he says, Barry, don't talk down to us. We are not Democrats. I'm not talking down to anybody. If you are more advanced, instead of posting something like that, what I would advise you to do is help some of the people in the chat understand. You don't have to educate me. I already know this. I already am investing in certain things. So yes, I understand what you're saying. Don't talk down to you, but you have to understand there's a couple thousand people watching right now and more on replay who are like, what the hell is going on? Because so many people have never heard this kind of thing. They've never had it explained to them. This isn't the channel that they normally put on. And so I think it's incumbent upon all of us to help each other understand. Maybe we just need to start it at a rudimentary education. Maybe we need to open this up like you're going to hear in the press conference or the conference with the oil execs. These people are talking up here. And I'm just trying at this point, just merely saying, here's how this book looks like in the inside. It's not talking down. It's just getting people acclimated to something they've never really wrapped their arms around. And the government of this country for the longest amount of time doesn't want people even knowing this. Doesn't even want people to even understand it, to grasp it. You will never, ever hear any Democrat talk about this. Nope, not at all. Not at all. They don't want people understanding it.
And people would never, before Donald Trump walked into that office, don't think that's possible. And what's 6 mean?
Let's just put 6 in context. 6 was China at its peak under central planning with a tight control on every aspect of its economy. That was what the world knew as what 6 looked like in the modern era. And now the alternative version of 6 will be the president, you, the team, in a much more open way. I'll be shocked.
You would have said it could never happen.
I would be shocked. I mean, that's an incredible...
Okay. You're going to put it this way. You know, it wouldn't even be fun for you when we see the 5s.
Yeah.
You're expecting 6 and you get 5, which is way more than where we are normally. And you're like, oh man, it's just 5. I can't believe we could be kicking butt even more. I want the 6. Remember, the Democrats kept telling you, yeah, 1 or 2 is about where you are. 1 or 2, we do that in our sleep. And now we're talking about a 6% GDP. Crazy.
Because they'll be so soon. They could be this quarter, as in the first quarter. So then I'd say, well, you have to come back and see me when it's 2.5. But then you'll come back in a couple of months, and then you'd say, Howard, I just spoke to you for an hour. I don't need to speak to you again. But you're going to see 5s, like as in early in 26.
That's incredible.
And then if they cut rates, and that's the thing, I need a new Fed chair who cuts rates. And if they cut rates,
6s.
You'll see 6s. And what you're going to see, what that means is jobs are abundant.
Yeah.
Good jobs are abundant. High-paying jobs are abundant.
Right.
Construction jobs, you just get paid more money to be who you are. You make more money. And that is not inflation. That is called 6% GDP growth.
It's so funny because when I hear it talking, I just can't help but smile because most people have never seen that kind of growth. And so when the Democrats talk about, inflation and the gas is too, they don't have anything to lean on. So if you're not sure what a 6% GDP, imagine your best financial year. Whenever it was when you sat back with your husband or your wife or your significant other and said, man, we did great this year. Whatever that year was on the calendar, go back and look at what the GDP was for that year. And then your eyes are going to go, oh, I did that well in a 2. I did that well in a 2.5, maybe a 3. Because every single one of you can sit back and go, man, I remember back in that, we were killing it. Bought a new car, bought a new house. We had our baby. We put an addition on the house. What year was that? What was the the GDP was only 2.5 and we were doing that well. So if the GDP is twice or more that, just imagine what you can do. Like he said, you're working in construction. Right now they're telling you get X dollars per hour. Now we're going to remove all these newcomers, so there's going to be even more demand for your skills. And now the company can build more projects and houses, so they're going to pay you even more to work on their stuff because they've got more projects. And you can go back and look at your life and say, when was the best year I ever had financially? Now, some of you may be retired and say, well, those days are gone. They're way beyond me. I am no longer capable of running a tractor or working on a plow or doing anything that allowed you to have that life back then. You're retired. Well, guess what's going to happen to your retirement? Your retirement is probably being invested in some sort of a mutual fund. If that mutual fund is doing better because the company's comprised of that mutual fund, you're going to make more money. And it becomes a mathematical equation that we haven't seen before because it's been suppressed.
And we're dealing with the world, but we've gotten them done. You know, we got Europe done, right? We did Japan, then I did Europe, then we did Korea, and we've done country after country after country. And these are durable, meaning these are deals that take care of the country's autos, pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, you know, things that really matter. And
I loved how he said that, because that was my hook to tonight's show, focusing on those things that really matter. Each one of you right now has an idea of what matters in your life financially and where you think you should be by the time mid-year comes, June, and where you want to be end of year 2026 and where you want to be the beginning of 2027. And you start assessing where those things are, and then it becomes a roadmap of sorts as how am I going to get there? And now you have an idea, because if you focus on the things that actually matter, see, this thing can become extremely addictive. And in addition to it becoming extremely addictive, it can be extremely negatively influential. Depending on what you see and what you're thinking, you're doing this, and again, it's only going to feed you what you are consuming. So unless you are consuming other stuff, unless you're following, you know, people who are talking about how you can improve your life, and I'm not talking about gurus and stuff like that. I'm talking about people who, like Howard, who are telling you what you can be doing, how you can be doing it. Maybe, you know, there might be some free classes on YouTube from a certain school or university that's not completely liberal crazy, and so that you can learn the basics of what they're talking about. There's all kinds of trading. I mean, like the guy from the Pelosi tracker, and how you can learn what's happening. People at Lear, start looking at consuming the things that are going to feed you correctly. We just watched RFK Jr. talking about the food pyramid and how the food pyramid was wrong, and now they're changing the food pyramid. Well, your social food pyramid needs to change. I have Brightcore, I have Qualia, I have a couple other different vitamins companies that I talk to here that have helped me be able to continue to do shows and talk for 2 and 3 hours because I needed the energy. Hey, okay, so you need to lose weight, you need to exercise. There's a roadmap. And if you need that roadmap, that's where it becomes the hard work you have to do. You got to roll up your sleeve and say, okay, I need to know this stuff. I know I want to see everything about ICE. I know I want to see what AOC had to say stupid today, but that's not going to help you. That's Twinkies. Those are, you know, blueberry muffins. That's not some protein. You need to focus on the protein. And I'm not talking down, I'm just using analogies.
The tariffs have been incredibly effective, and you can use them to change the trade deficit.
Sure.
But you can also use them to change behavior.
Bring us into the room, debating tariffs, debating where you wanted to start, debating the game theory. What were the puts and takes, and how did you come up with the decisions you made? And then if you could just reflect back on what went right, what would you want to redo, and what was maybe, and still is, misunderstood?
So the president in his first term He's been talking about tariffs and how the trade deficit of the United States of America is really a ripoff of America. That people who don't weigh in very deep say, well, you have a trade deficit with the supermarket, right? You know, I mean, you're always buying from the supermarket, so you have a trade deficit with the supermarket. That's just silly, right? If you think about it, let's say there are two islands, right? One produces and one invents. So the inventor lets the other island produce.
Okay, listen to this analogy he's using, which you can't say he's talking down. This is a great analogy in terms of the two islands.
And keeps buying it from that other island, pays them the money, and then that other island uses the money to buy the inventor's island. And over a period of time, the producer owns the inventor's island. And the inventor works for the producer because he ran an infinite trade deficit and kept paying his money away. So what's supposed to happen when I was in college, my, freshman and sophomore professors basically said, if you run a trade deficit, you'll keep taking your silly paper money and giving it to them and buy their wine and buy their cars and buy all their cool stuff. And sooner or later, they're going to say, hey, I don't want your stupid paper. And your dollar would devalue. You wouldn't be able to buy their stuff and it would all balance. And that's sort of free foreign exchange, floating currency theory. But what if you're America and you invent the light bulb and then you invent the transistor and then you invent the GPU and you're just too darn smart? Mm-hmm. So what they do with those dollars is they come in and buy us.
Okay, so you get that. I loved how he tied that together because everything, one of those things we actually invented, the light bulb. But if you don't understand the entire transactional nature of it, and then you're doing it at a deficit, that deficit is going to eat you, and then the other people are going to steal your IP and intellectual property and everything else, and then you're going to be an employee of theirs, which is pretty much what we became with China. We stopped building. And we kept paying another country to supply us. And so we essentially became employees and at the whim of China. Most of everything you buy at Amazon, China, Taiwan. It's not American. And unfortunately, there are certain people, I don't know what age group it would be, who don't realize it didn't used to be like that. It used to be that you went to the store, you were buying American goods. Now they don't even get it. They're slaves to the grind.
Natural argument, which was always previously successful, falls on deaf ears. And I'm pointing over there because that's his office, okay? The White House is like right there. And he says, you're only investing here because it's great for you. The answer is, I want to rebalance. And that's what we're out to do. Build it here, sell it here, fine. Or pay for the privilege of selling it here.
And it really is that simple. I noticed somebody asked about SV. SV is traveling. He's got a tournament. He plays pickleball. He's got a tournament this weekend, so that's where he is. But I hope you got some insight into there, because now we're going to be moving into the actual conference with the oil people. And you're going to start hearing different things again, much bigger numbers. And what I love about what President Trump is he opens the curtain. We've never seen this. Again, contrast. We've never seen the president and members of his cabinet talking to the biggest executives in the world, talking about how you're going to be more prosperous, how we're going to control the Western Hemisphere, not with guns, but with dollars. You are seeing history being made. You are watching history completely change before your eyes, and people are looking away. Yes, we want to hear the daily news. Yes, we want to know what happened and all that kind of stuff, but this is huge. It matters for you and your family. So I'll try to stop when I watch some of the comments, but this is President Trump getting ready to come in the room and meet with the oil executives.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
By far, I would say, and we're doing tremendous things. Our country is doing very well. You saw the numbers that got released today, yesterday. Deficits cut way, way, way back at levels that nobody's ever seen before, setting records. And the numbers coming into our country are unprecedented, and we're doing really well. We had a situation 3 days ago with Venezuela, and we're getting along extremely well with the people of Venezuela, both the people and the people that are running Venezuela. I just want to thank our military. What they've done is incredible. That was considered unprecedented, to go into a military fort with thousands of soldiers and others, and to come in with 152 planes going every which way, and very rapid speeds and helicopters, and to come out with no deaths and the loss of no equipment. It was pretty amazing. Nobody's seen anything like it. I was called by the leaders of numerous countries. I won't go into which ones, but the biggest and the strongest, and they said that was very impressive. They're all impressed. But today I'm delighted to welcome almost 24 of the biggest and most respected oil and gas executives in the world to the White House. It's an honor to be with them. We have many others that were not able to get in. I said if we had a ballroom, we'd have over 1,000 people. Everybody wanted. I never knew your industry was that big. I never knew you had that many people in your industry. But here we are. And in fact, if you look, come to think of it, well, I got to look at this myself. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the ballroom. What a joke.
Only Trump would get up in the middle of a meeting with all these executives and go, hey, look what I'm doing out here. Yeah, wow.
Unusual time to look, but I figure we might as well do it. If the fake news would like to go back and take a look, you can, but you'll see a very big foundation that's moving. We're ahead of schedule in the ballroom and under budget. It's going to be, I don't think there'll be anything like it in the world, actually. I think it'll be the best. We went from, this is, as you know, our biggest room, which would seat 100 for dinner, maybe, if you're lucky, if you're nice and tight. And the ballroom will seat many. And it'll also take care of the inauguration with bulletproof glass, drone-proof ceilings, and everything else, unfortunately, that today you need. So we're going to discuss how these great American companies can help rapidly rebuild Venezuela's dilapidated oil industry and bring millions of barrels of oil production to benefit the United States, the people of Venezuela, and the entire world. And yesterday, the number is 30 million barrels. I can't even, is that a correct number? 30 million barrels. You hear that, Peter? Of oil was given to us by Venezuela. That's a lot of oil. It's about $4 billion worth, and it's on its way to the United States right now. And we want to thank Venezuela for that. And we're working very well with them, obviously, or they wouldn't have been so generous. But they respect us again. They didn't respect us at all before. So that's money that goes to the United States. Some will go to Venezuela, and some will go to the oil companies, but not that, because that's already been extracted. So when you're not getting any of that, but when you start extracting, you'll get. But it's tremendous reserves, among the biggest in the world. Some people say it is the biggest in the world. And we're going to be working with Venezuela. We're going to be making the decision as to which oil companies are going to go in, that we're going to allow to go in. We're going to cut a deal with the companies. We'll probably do that today or very shortly thereafter with Chris and Doug. And we're dealing with the country, so we're empowered to make that deal. And you'll have total safety, total security. One of the reasons you couldn't go in is you had no guarantees, you had no security, but now you have total security. It's a whole different Venezuela, and Venezuela is going to be very successful. And the people of the United States are going to be big beneficiaries, because we're going to be extracting, numbers of, in terms of oil, like, few people have ever seen, actually. So you're dealing with us directly. You're not dealing with Venezuela at all. We don't want you to deal with Venezuela. Let me thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's doing a fantastic job. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, likewise a fantastic job. I have good people. I like them better than my first group. But we had a great, despite that, we had a great first term. We had some great people there too, by the way. But we had a great first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in the first term, but this is blowing it away. And you haven't seen anything yet. Everyone's been shocked by the numbers, 5.4% GDP. And that's despite the fact that we were badly hurt by the Democrat shutdown, of which they'd like to see if they could shut it down again. Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, who's fantastic. Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, recommended by Doug as being the greatest oil man anywhere in the world, because I wanted Doug for that job, energy, and Doug said, no, sir, there's a man named Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? He said he's the most talented oil man anywhere in the world. I doubt you can get him, because typically oil men make a lot of money, and women. They make a lot of money, but Chris came. You took one of the greatest salary cuts probably in history, Chris, right? But he's a fantastic person, loves our country, and many other important members of this team. And I want to thank them for their efforts. As you know, last week, the United States Armed Forces performed one of the most spectacular military operations in American history, apprehending the outlawed dictator Nicolas Maduro for his crimes against the United States, crimes for which he has now been indicted and is in federal court awaiting trial. And he killed many people, millions of people, actually, and allowed jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, drug dealers, drug addicts to pour into our country totally unchecked because of Sleepy Joe Biden's policy of open borders, the stupidest thing I've ever seen. We're getting them all out. The departure of Maduro makes it possible an incredible future for both nations, Venezuela and the United States, in which we will more closely integrate the economies of two major energy powers in the Western Hemisphere. Energy coming out of Venezuela was very small. One of the things the United States gets out of this will be even lower energy prices. We have people now getting gasoline for $1.99, $1.96, $1.95, $1.92 yesterday, somebody. And it used to be $3.50, $4, $5 a gallon. Think of that, $1.99. Decades ago, the United States built Venezuela's oil industry at tremendous expense with American skill, technology, know-how, and dollars. But those assets were stolen from us, and we had presidents who did nothing about it. This president is much different than your other presidents. They did nothing about it. They stole it. Some of the people in this room were a little bit younger when that happened, but not that much younger. It wasn't that long ago. But they stole our assets like we were babies, and the United States did absolutely nothing about it. So now we're doing everything about it. Now we're doing 500% about it, but it's a long time after the act took place. So they stole from us, and it was taken by socialists and communists at the time, and Venezuela was going bad, really bad. And as much oil as they have, they're producing almost nothing, which is just a system. So we're really, if you look at it, we're taking back what was taken from us. They took our oil industry. We built that entire oil industry, started a long time ago, but they took it, and they were very ungracious to this country, but now they're being very nice. American companies will have the opportunity to rebuild Venezuela's rotting energy infrastructure and eventually increase oil production to levels never, ever seen before. When you add Venezuela and the United States together, we have 55% of the oil in the world. The United States is number one. We have them drilling. Drill, baby, drill was my campaign, and Doug and Chris, I think we're setting records on drilling right now and taking oil without Venezuela. That's how we're getting the oil prices down. The plan is for them to spend, meaning our giant oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. But they need government protection and need government security that when they spend all this money, it's going to be there so they get their money back and make a very nice return. The plan is for them to spend at least $100 billion to rebuild the capacity and the infrastructure necessary. Venezuela has also agreed that the United States will immediately begin refining and selling up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, which will continue indefinitely. We're all set to do it. We have the refining capacity. It was actually based very much on the Venezuelan oil, which is a heavy oil, very good oil, great oil. It's fantastic for certain things like asphalt roads, the best there is in the world for asphalt roads and other things. All of the companies here today are going to be treasured partners in bringing the nation of Venezuela back to life, restoring its economy, and generating great wealth for their companies and for their people, and also great wealth for the American people, and tremendous wealth for the companies that are going in. The companies that are going in, and if you don't want to go in, just let me know, because I got 25 people that aren't here today that are willing to take your place. So I just want to thank, these are people that I either know or I know of by reading lots of business magazines and journals and papers. These are the greatest oil people anywhere in the world. Harold Hamm, I see, is here. Harold, you know, there's a story about Harold Hamm that he could look at a piece of land, put a straw into the land, and oil pours out. Is that true about you? Whereas some of you guys have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to find that oil. So we can't let that story be true. But they say Harold puts a straw into the land and oil comes gushing out. So you're not a big R&D person, are you, huh? He's called Instinct for Oil. Now, he's got other problems, but we won't talk about those problems. But he's been a great supporter of mine for a long time, haven't you, Harold? So congratulations. But we have, and I think Harold would agree, we have the greatest oil men and women anywhere in the world sitting in this room right now. And we have a lot of people that will be back to see us sometime next week. We're going to have another meeting for another group. But we're going to do this very quickly. We can have this done almost immediately. So I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to invite Vice President Vance to say a few words, followed by Secretaries Rubio, Burgum, and Wright. And then we'll have a few words from representatives that are here and to discuss their ideas, a couple of them. We have Chevron, which has been, where's Chevron? Where are you?
Yeah, far right.
No, I thought you'd have a better location. You were the only one that was there for all that. I used to call you and say, what the hell is going on with Venezuela? He stuck it out. I don't know if you made money or not, but you stuck it out. They got to give you a lot of credit for that. Mark Nelson, thank you very much. Exxon CEO Darren Woods. Darren, thank you very much. How's Exxon doing? Okay? All right. They'll do a lot better now, won't they, huh? Exxon's been amazing. It's been an amazing company. And ConocoPhillips CEO Ryan Lance, thank you very much. So you guys could say something, and then we'll take some questions from the press. And if anybody else would like to speak, we'll have you speak. We have all the time in the world. This is a big subject. This is massive wealth, and more importantly than massive wealth, it leads to lower taxes and a lot of jobs for Americans and for Venezuelans, but for Americans in this case. And I just, again, appreciate you all being here. And I'd like to ask JD to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks to everybody for being here. You know, as a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, and let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far-off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives, and the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world. And he did it without losing a single American life in the process. It was an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer. And it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk about how we can make it an even bigger and better operation for the American people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Marco?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think this is a reminder that everything this president does, everything President Trump does, is with the American people in mind. It was not in the national interest or national security of the United States and of our people to have in our own hemisphere a country, not just with vast energy reserves, but controlled by an indicted narco trafficker who flooded our country with illegal immigration, including drug gang members, openly cooperated with drug gangs, and by the way, stole the wealth of that country to fund a repressive regime and also benefit adversaries such as Iran. All of that is now changing. As part of this process, the first phase, of course, is the phase we're in now, which is the stabilization phase. We did not want to see destabilization in the country. We're working very cooperatively with the interim authorities there to provide a market for the sale of the wealth of Venezuela in such a way that benefits the people, both of the United States, but also the people of Venezuela. And as a reminder to everyone, the president announced this just 2 days ago, every penny, everything they buy with the money that they're making from the oil now, Mr. President, will be bought from America. And that includes everything from equipment for the oil industry to food to medicine and everything in between. The second will be a phase of recovery, and then some of these phases will overlap, and that is to have a normal economy again where the money goes to the benefit of people, not the benefit of our adversaries or the benefit of elements in that country and around the world that are against our interests, at the same time as a process of reconciliation has to happen internally among the different sectors of society and politics and the like. And finally, the third phase, which is the most important of the three, is when the country fully transitions into a normal country that we have strong economic and diplomatic and relations with, that is friendly towards the United States, that's not a foothold for our adversaries, that serves our interests, but also the interests of the people. It'll be a country that is wealthy, a country that is prosperous for the people, not for a handful of criminals, but also a country that is supportive of our interests in the region and throughout the world. And we thank you, Mr. President, and the team you've assembled that have brought us to this point. A lot of work remains, important work, but this is historic.
Okay. Thank you very much. Doug?
Well, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your leadership, not just as president, but as commander-in-chief. The boldness, the execution, the breathtakingly precise work that you've delivered both in Iran back in June and here has changed the field for the whole world. And you always ran about the idea of peace and prosperity. And in Venezuela, as you know, this was a playground for every bad actor in the world. We had Russians, Iran, terror groups, all of them profiting from this criminal organization that was pretending to run the country. That makes America safer. You've secured the border. We're stopping the flow of drugs. And now with the normalization of relationships on an economic basis, it's going to mean tremendously for the prosperity of the American people. So I just want to say again, congratulations to you and to the entire leadership team. It's been an amazing, historic week on the scale of things that we haven't seen perhaps for 125 years in terms of the U.S. Exerting its influence over Latin America in a way that's going to make a change for generations. And on behalf of all the oil executives that are here today, Chris and I want to say thank you to all of you. It's your technology, your innovation that has put America in the place where today we are the most energy dominant country in the world. And that position is what's allowed us to take the action that we're taking with statecraft, with military action. None of that would happen if we were dependent on everybody else for energy. So you're a big part of the reason that we're able to move the way we are today, and we're grateful that you're here to be part of the solution going forward.
Thank you, Doug, and you are doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. They know who's doing well. Chris Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, what we've seen in the last week is leadership matters and credibility matters. Venezuelan oil has been sanctioned for many years, and the oil just flew, those sanctions were not enforced. That oil just floated out trafficked by bad actors of the world. The resources weren't gone to a central place. The corruption and decline of Venezuela has been a crisis for the people of Venezuela. And as Secretary Rubio said, massive spillover effects in the United States, in crime, in drugs, in kidnappings, and in taking a huge resource base and making it not exploited, not developed. The whole world is a poorer, less opportunity-rich place because of that. When you have materials underground, they've been underground for 1 million years. That does not make them a resource. That does not make them valuable for your country, your people, or the world. They only become a resource with technology, with capital, with rule of law, and a system of governance that encourages the harvesting of those resources to make the better world. And we see here the dramatic contrast between the United States, which may have less oil underground than Venezuela. We have 20 times the production of Venezuela, 20 times the impact of human betterment, massively better quality of living here in the United States. That was at risk under the last administration. We've seen a lot of attacks on the energy that makes the world go round. President Trump's election has removed those risks, has embraced reality about how the world is energized, and we are record production of oil in the United States, record production in natural gas in the United States. We've seen a meaningful decline in gasoline prices, diesel prices, travel prices because of jet fuel. And now President Trump is taking the genius of a different way to try to solve a 25-year festering problem in Venezuela that all the traditional things have not worked. But ordering both a tremendous military operation to remove the heads of a criminal organization masquerading as a government, and then to use the power of our military, not to fire bullets, but to stop the flow of Venezuelan oil to the world, immediately gave us leverage over the interim authorities in Venezuela and has allowed us to be in this position today where the actions of this government can massively improve Venezuela for the better, and the bigger impact is to massively improve the quality of life, affordability, safety, and security of the United States. Very proud to be here. And we'll turn it over to Mark Nelson, who's the vice chairman of Chevron. Chevron has been in Venezuela for over 100 years, continuously. Mike Wirth, the CEO, had a knee replacement recently. He's not here. Mark is a tremendous leader in our industry, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Secretary Wright. Again, I'll send Mike Wirth's regrets. He really wanted to be here, Mr. President.
Great guy.
On his behalf, I have 3 very quick thank yous and an assurance I'd like to provide you all. The first thank you, Mr. President, is to you. It's thank you for convening this gathering. It's thank you for your leadership, and thank you for continuing to keep American energy domination in the forefront. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
The second thank you actually is to the cabinet. So Secretary Rubio, Secretary Burgum, Secretary Wright, your ability and commitment to continue to engage with the parties around the table to keep the world working is greatly appreciated. So thank you for that. And the final thank you actually would go to our Venezuelan employees of Chevron. They have been working tirelessly to operate safely, protect the environment in country, and their dedication and skill will help us in this next chapter. And finally, I'll close with the assurance. For more than a century, Chevron has been a part of Venezuela's past. We are certainly committed to its present, and we very much look forward as a proud American company to help it build a better future. And so, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership.
You really suffered there. You stuck it out. A lot of people left. A lot of big companies left. Many of the people sitting at this table left because of the safety risk and other risks. But you stuck it out. I give you credit for that. Sometimes it was hard. I remember 6 months ago I told you to stay, just stay. Things are going to happen. You'll be very happy. I didn't know they were going to happen this fast or this conclusively. One thing I think everyone has to know is that if we didn't do this, China or Russia would have done it. And if China or Russia were a next-door neighbor, because essentially this is not around the other parts of the world so far away where you fly an airplane for 24 hours before you get there. This is sort of a next-door neighbor if you think about it. And I told China and I told Russia, we get along with you very well. We like you very much. We don't want you there. Not going to be there. And if we didn't do this, China would have been there and Russia would have been there. Maybe they both would have been there together, but they're not going to be there now. One thing I will tell them, and I will tell you, that we are open for business. China can buy all the oil they want from us there or in the United States. Russia can get all the oil they need from us, and they do like oil, even though they produce a lot of it. But China and Russia and everybody else is able to go, and we'll be open for business almost immediately. I have a feeling the $100 million will be spent $100 billion will be spent very, very rapidly by these very big, powerful, and rich companies, and I think they're going to be able to rebuild the infrastructure. And I hope it's going to be brand new as opposed to a rehab, because I know the tremendous difference between the new and the not so new in your industry. The new is much more beautiful, much better in every way, and actually much smaller. It's like everything else, gets smaller and stronger. It's a combination of smaller, better, and stronger. So I hope you're going to build all brand new stuff, rip out the old crap that's been there for so many years, and do it the right way. You're going to be there a long time if we make a deal. If we make a deal, you're going to be there a long time. If we don't make a deal, you won't be there at all. It's, sort of interesting. But again, China and Russia would have been there if we didn't do this. And the other thing people ask about the second wave, I don't think it's going to be necessary. We have an armada, a giant armada like nobody's ever seen in that part of the world. And it's stationed off the coast. And we are getting along so well with the people that are involved in representing Venezuela that I don't think we're going to have any, I don't think it's going to be necessary to do the second wave. We were planning on a second wave, but the first wave was so powerful and so good and so strong. And frankly, the people in the country, they did the right thing. They were smart. They did the right thing. They didn't want to go through a second wave. But
all right, so just real quick, number one, hope you're still awake. Number two, what he just mentioned, they were going to hit Venezuela again. They were going to send the military in for another attack. But because Venezuela came to its senses, they're doing what they're being asked to do. He's told Pete Hegseth, all right, pump the brakes. Let's just see how things go. So there's no imminent additional hit going against Venezuela. You see, that's what happens when you really hit hard and show peace through strength. They saw what could happen. They realized, well, it's better for us to play ball. And so they're working with President Trump.
We've got a tremendous number of the most powerful ships in the world right there. I don't think we're going to have to use that. I'm happy to say that. I don't think we're going to have to use that at all. If I could ask Chevron, you did a great job. I want to thank you. And ExxonMobil, if you would say a few words, and then followed by Conoco, great companies, massive companies, great companies. Exxon, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity, frankly, for the entire industry to show up and provide a perspective. Frankly, we've been kind of unresponsive to the press regarding Venezuela, but I guess today's the opportunity to address the press directly with respect to a number of questions that have been asked of ExxonMobil. First and foremost, obviously, is the interest that we have in Venezuela. And I think, the way I would position that, I think one of the reasons why we see many of the industry players here is we're in a depletion business for a product that is in great demand and will be in demand for many, many, many decades to come. And as a depletion business, the biggest challenge we have is finding resources. There's an opportunity in Venezuela with all the resources there is we don't have that challenge of finding, we have the challenge of developing those resources. So I think it's in the best interest of these companies and frankly society as a whole for the industry to be interested in understanding what the opportunity here represents. I'll just share a philosophy that ExxonMobil has when we enter countries, because we do business all around the world in a number of different regimes. We take a very long-term perspective. The investments that we make span decades and decades, so we do not go into any opportunity with a short-term mindset. And there's a value proposition that we have to meet. It has to be a win-win-win proposition. Obviously, it has to be a win for the company and our shareholders and to generate a return for the investments that we make. It has to be a win for the government. The resources are an important source of revenue that helps support the people of the places that we do business. And it has to be a win for the people. We have to be wanted there and to be a good neighbor. And those three things ensure a stable, long-term platform for the large investments that we make for the long term. With respect to Venezuela in particular, we have a very long history in Venezuela. In fact, we first got into Venezuela back in the 1940s. We've had our assets seized there twice. And so you can imagine to re-enter a third time would require some pretty significant changes from what we've historically seen here and what is currently the state. If we look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place today in Venezuela, today it's uninvestable. And so significant changes have to be made to those commercial frameworks, the legal system. There has to be durable investment protections, and there has to be a change to the hydrocarbon laws in the country. We're confident that with this administration and President Trump working hand in hand with the Venezuelan government, that those changes can be put in place. And with respect to the Venezuelan government, that perspective we don't have the view on. We haven't talked to the Venezuelan government, and obviously we have yet to assess the people's perspective with respect to ExxonMobil entering the country. In the short term, there are things that can be done while these longer-term issues are being worked. For us, we haven't been in the country for almost 20 years. We think it's absolutely critical in the short term that we get a technical team in place to assess the current state of the industry and the assets, to understand what would be involved to help the people of Venezuela get production back on the market. With the invitation of the Venezuelan government and with appropriate security guarantees, we are ready to put a team on the ground there. We also have a integrated set of capabilities from production to refining to trading, and I think we can be of assistance to getting the Venezuelan crude to market and realizing a market price to help again with the financial situation in Venezuela. So those are my short-term perspective that I have. I'd say maybe close with a thank you, Mr. President, for the work that you've done to secure not only the national security but the energy security of the region. And then thank you, Secretary Rubio, Secretary Wright, Secretary Burgum, for your leadership in this matter. Thank you.
How long would it take you, Darren, as Exxon if we make a deal, how long would it take you to get in there and get started?
Well, the first step, this technical team, as I talked with Secretary Wright earlier this week, we started from the beginning to put the team together so that if and when it was needed, we could hit the ground almost immediately. So we can hit the ground within the next couple of weeks. Start the assessment, and then from there we need to understand.
That's what we want. We want speed and quality. That's what we want.
All right, so that's absolutely huge. We've been told by the pundits that it would take these oil companies years to get up to speed, and this guy's like, a couple weeks, we're going to be ready to start going. That's absolutely huge. The media is not going to tell you that. You just had to hear it for yourself. That company, I believe that was Exxon. Yeah, just a couple weeks, we're ready to go.
Thank you, Darren. And Conoco, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, too. And you've assembled a great team in our congratulations as well for removing one of the terrible people in the world and bringing them to justice. It was quite amazing. I think you've given hope to the people of Venezuela again, which I think is quite remarkable. And we've been on the other end of that despot regime a long time. Our assets were expropriated. I had a little bit more hair when that happened. And you know, I think we're the largest non-sovereign credit holder in Venezuela today. So we're in a bit of different situation, but I think your big and bold idea to use energy commerce instead of conflict is something that could make a real big difference in Venezuela. And our company certainly stands ready to help in that endeavor. Encourage you to continue to think bigger and even bolder. And we've had some discussions with your energy team about that as well, as we think about the other people that need to be in this room and in this discussion are the banks, and including probably the Exim Bank, as we think about how the debt needs to be restructured and the financing to deliver the billions of dollars that are required to restore their energy infrastructure. And I think as we think that big and bold, we need to be also thinking about even restructuring the entire Venezuelan energy system, including PDVSA. And I think if we can do that and think bold, there's an opportunity to be quick, fast, and restore the quality of what's happened in Venezuela, or what's been lost in Venezuela over the course of the last 25 years. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, and you'll get a lot of your money back. We're going to start with an even plate, though. We're not going to look at what people lost in the past, because that was their fault. That was a different president. You're going to make a lot of money, but we're not going to go back. You left a lot of money behind, I guess, huh? What number?
12 billion.
How much?
12 billion.
Well,
damn.
It's a good write-off.
It's already been written off.
It's been written. All right, thank you, Barry. You'll make it back one way or the other. You're all going to do very well. I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note. Go back to Chevron. They want to discuss something. Go ahead. I'm going back to Chevron, Marco. Thank you, Marco.
Was there a question, Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead, Marco. What are you saying here?
Mark, if you can update us on operations in the ground and with the appropriate approvals, what you might be able to achieve in the next 12 to 18 months, give us a little view from the ground.
You bet. So today, Chevron has 3,000 employees in 4 different joint ventures in Venezuela today. And over the past 5 to 7 years, they've taken production from about 40,000 barrels a day to 240,000 barrels a day, essentially getting those facilities and that equipment up to standards that would be something that people in the room would be more accustomed to. Given the work we've done with Secretary Wright and Secretary Burgum and even Secretary Bessent, I think we have a path forward here very shortly to be able to increase our liftings from those joint ventures 100%, essentially effective immediately. We are also able to increase our production within our own disciplined investment schemes by about 50% just in the next 18 to 24 months. And that's just leveraging what's on the ground. So to Secretary Rubio's comments about phase 1, this is taking the momentum of improvements we've already made there locally and building on those and creating more momentum for the people of Venezuela.
Do you think you have an advantage being there? You've been there by the skin of your teeth. It's been tough for you to be there, but do you think you have an advantage over the other people in this room by the fact that you are there?
Yeah, I think there are, Mr. President, I think there would be days where it didn't feel like an advantage, and there are days where it does feel like an advantage. But having people on the ground today that care desperately about the people of Venezuela and know how to operate the assets that are there, that is a definite advantage today.
Would you say the best locations are available, or would you say the best locations are already sort of worked, even though they're in very bad shape? The best locations for finding oil, the best locations for oil.
There are more opportunities than not, Mr. President. With 300 billion barrels of reserves and resources in country, there are lots of opportunities for many companies.
Will you be building new, or will you be using the old infrastructure that you have?
Yeah, today it's a little bit of a mix, but today it's mostly us taking the equipment of today, getting it to the standards that we are accustomed to your comments about making it how it should be today. Most of the investments that we've been making are about getting it up to our standards.
Well, I think you're going to make an investment, but you're going to get your money back very quickly, and that's part of our thing. We're going to have you get your money back fast, and then you'll give a lot to Venezuela and to the United States after that. Okay, so you'll be in good shape. Could I ask Harold Hamm to say a few words? He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Very amazing man, actually, amazing energy person.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's good to be here with so many dignified people. And this effort particularly, and thank you for your effort for what you've done here, taking this despot out of that area. And the world dealt with him way too long. Certainly our industry knows that this is a real jewel that can be developed for the people of Venezuela and also benefit the world. And like Secretary Wright said, it has not been done. That's not been done in the past, and they had a good chance at it. Brought someone in that totally took it down, as everybody knows here, and that was Chavez, and we know what happened to him finally. But that ruined the industry in Venezuela, and all of us know how that happened, ended very well, very wrongly. So anyway, we're glad to see what's happened here, and look forward for the opportunity for a lot of people in this room, but also for America and the country itself.
Are you going to be involved in going in? Because he's in North Dakota and he's in Oklahoma and some incredible places. It's a little bit different, but there's no doubt about you won't have to worry about the straw too much here. You can just go at it. Are you going to be one of the participants?
Well, certainly, I'm an oil finder, like you said. Barry Switzer, told that story. The
coach.
And he's kind of exaggerated a little bit. It doesn't come out quite that easily usually. But anyway, great story. I love it. But I love Barry.
Barry's the one that told me this.
Yeah, he's a champion, and
into financially safe. So it's good to see you, Harold. Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything to say before we get to the press?
What does Cuba have to do to avoid the same fate as Venezuela? What does Cuba have to do?
Well, Cuba's in bad shape. Cuba relied on Venezuela for oil and for money. And nobody really knows what's going to happen with Cuba. They're doing very poorly. They're really third world all the way. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans. And I would say Marco fits very solidly into that category. And I might ask you to say a few words about, we were discussing it before, Cuba is a very different, they don't have energy, they don't have oil, but they would live off of the oil from Venezuela. And what they do have is very strong people. And very powerful people militarily, and they would protect the people running Venezuela, and they would take in a lot of money from Venezuela. Now they don't have that. They won't be taking in any money. So, Marco, what do you think?
Well, the fundamental problem in Cuba is that it's run by incompetent people that don't know what an economy looks like, much less a functioning one. They've made a choice, and that is they would rather have political control over their people than they would to have an economy that functions. And they've gotten away with it for 60-something years because they've had donors, the Soviet Union, and now most recently Venezuela. But that's now gone. So the people in control in Cuba have a choice to make. They can either have a real country with a real economy where their people can prosper, or they can continue with their failing dictatorship that's going to lead to systemic and societal collapse. So it's a very stark and dramatic choice, and it's one we hope to make the right one. We don't have an interest in a destabilized Cuba, but that would be their fault because they refuse to allow the people of Cuba to have either economic or political freedom for that matter.
And you have a lot of people in this country that want to go back to Cuba and help Cuba. A lot of people have left, they came in penniless, they didn't have anything, and they've become very rich people in our country, and they want to very much go back and help Cuba. So that's something that Cuba has that a lot of other places don't have. Peter?
President Trump, thank you. I do want to ask you about Minnesota, but first, just more on topic. President Zelensky said that he was watching with the rest of the world as you made this order to go and capture Nicolas Maduro. And he said, if that's how it works with dictators, then the United States knows what to do next. Sounds like he wants you to go and capture Vladimir Putin. Would you ever order a mission to go and capture Vladimir Putin?
Well, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think we're going to have I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm very disappointed. I settled 8 wars. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack or maybe one of the easier ones. And I don't know if you know, Peter, the last month, they lost 31,000 people, many of them Russian soldiers, and the Russian economy is doing poorly. I think we're going to end up getting it settled. I wish we could have done it quicker because a lot of people are dying, and mostly soldiers. You know, they get hit in Kiev and they get hit a little bit here and there, and people are dying there too. But largely, it's the soldier population. When you have 30,000, 31,000 soldiers dying in a period of a month, 27,000 the month before, 26,000 the month before that, that's bad stuff. So, as you know, President Biden gave $350 billion to Ukraine to fight, and we would never get that back, although I did make a rare earth deal to get it back, so we will be getting it back, but shouldn't have done that. It was a bad thing to do. I will say that right now, because I was able to get NATO to up GDP from 2% to 5%, NATO's got a lot of money, and they're paying for everything. We're not losing any money. We're making a lot of money, I guess, if you think of it, because we're selling them military equipment. They're probably giving it to Ukraine. But we're selling them to NATO military equipment. We're getting full price and all of that. But that's not a big deal to me. What is a big deal is stopping a war where 30,000 people are being killed every single month.
And on Minnesota, the vice president yesterday suggested that Renee Good, who was killed by this ICE officer, was part of a broad left-wing network. What has your team told you about this broad left-wing network? Who is in charge of it? Who's part of it? What's it called?
Well, I haven't seen the vice president's statement, but he's generally very accurate. I hate to say, look, I watched that yesterday, and there were a lot of different forms to it. But there was a woman screaming, "Shame, shame, shame, shame." She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker, because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this. The news sort of turned her down, turned her off, because you're trying to watch. She was so loud and so crazy and just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement. Yeah.
Mr. President, in your conversations with these oil executives today, did you provide any security guarantees so that they can do their work safely in Venezuela? Yeah. And separately, Mr. President,
they will have those guarantees, yes.
And separately, Mr. President, I'm curious in terms of the future of Venezuela. Do you see Venezuela, now led by Delcy Rodriguez, as an ally of the U.S.? Is that the way that you view that country right now?
Well, right now they seem to be an ally, and I think it'll continue to be an ally, and we don't want to have Russia there. We don't want to have China there. And by the way, we don't want Russia or China going to Greenland, which if we don't take Greenland, you're going to have Russia or China as your next-door neighbor. That's not going to happen.
Mr. President, thank you. You just said that these companies would have security guarantees if they go in on the ground in Venezuela.
They will have.
And what is your plan there actually for these companies and those Americans who are going to be on the ground working for these companies?
Well, there are going to be Americans. I assume they're going to be using a lot of Americans, but they're going to be using a lot of people from Venezuela and other places, I would imagine. But I would think that mostly they'll be using Venezuelan workers. They have a lot of great workers. They have a very high unemployment rate, and they have workers that are very familiar with taking oil out of the ground. Yeah.
How long do you think the Ayatollah will be in power after what we've seen play out on the ground there? When is the U.S. going to get involved now that reports of protesters being killed on the ground?
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So we don't want that to happen. There have been cases like this where President Obama totally backed down. But this is something pretty incredible that's happening in Iran. It's an amazing thing to watch. They've done a bad job. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back. So let's see what happens. We're watching it. We're watching it very closely. Go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Do you have any comments in reaction to the recent attacks by the Syrian government alignment groups against US-backed Kurdish forces in Aleppo, Syria, which killed dozens of civilians and displacing many families? Does your administration bring peace between the Kurds and the Syrian government?
I want to see peace, yes, I do. The Kurds and the Syrian government, we get along with both, as you know very well. They have been natural enemies over the years, but we get along both, and we want to see Syria succeed. And so far, I think they are succeeding, but this is just breaking out, and we want to see that stopped. Go ahead, please.
You're meeting with the President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, in a few weeks. Do you hope this meeting with Gustavo Petro marks a new chapter, a new beginning in the benefit of the U.S. and Colombia relations?
What country?
Colombia, with the President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro.
I had a very good talk with him yesterday, and he's been very hostile to us and to the nation and to me, called me a dictator and lots of other things, called Biden some terrible names, far worse than he called me. But he called yesterday through people, and he wants to meet, and that's fine with me. I've made up with people also, you know, so we're going to have a meeting with him. We had a very good conversation. The people of Colombia are incredible people. Marco would know that better than anybody because he's married to a woman from Colombia. And I don't mean Columbia University. That would be, I'm not sure. I think I like Colombia, the country, better, if you want to know the truth. The people, hold it. The people are great people. I look forward to meeting with them. We're going to meet in the very near future.
Would you meet the interim president of Venezuela here in the White House? Would you greet her to discuss the fate of the oil?
Yeah, well, I'm going to meet a lot of people, and we're going to meet, we meet a lot of people. When you end 8 wars, you get to know a lot of people, and I think it's very important. As an example, we have over $18 trillion. Think of it, $18 trillion coming into our country. A lot of that's coming in from foreign countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE and others. And I get to meet a lot of people, but I will be meeting with various representatives of Venezuela, probably pretty soon. We haven't set that up. But the relationship that we have with the people that are currently running Venezuela is very good. We also have a young lady that received the Nobel Peace Prize. She's going to come in and pay her regards to our country, really, to me, but, I'm a representative of the country, nothing else. And she's coming in sometime next week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll see how that is. But no, we're dealing with the people from Venezuela. We're dealing with them very well. I think they've been very smart in the way they've dealt with us, frankly, because that whole place could have been obliterated with one more strike, and we didn't want to do that.
Thank you so much. I have a question for you on Minneapolis, but on Venezuela and your meeting with Machado next week. If she gives you her Nobel Peace Prize, will that change your view about her running that country?
Well, I have to speak to her. I'm going to have to speak to her. She might be involved in some aspect of it. I will have to speak to her. I think it's very nice that she wants to come in, and that's what I understand the reason is, because Norway is very embarrassed by what took place. I mean, they're getting decimated. Look, whether people like Trump or don't like Trump, I settled 8 wars, big ones, some going on for 36 years, 32 years, 31 years, 28 years, 25 years, some just getting ready to start, like India and Pakistan, where already 8 jets were shot out of the air, and I got it done in rapid order without nuclear weapons. I can't think of anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me, and I don't want to be bragging, but nobody else settled wars. Obama got the Nobel Prize. He had no idea why. He still has no idea. He walks around, he says, I got the Nobel Prize. Why did he get a Nobel Prize? He got it almost immediately upon attaining office, and he didn't do anything, and he was a bad president. So I mean, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. These were major wars. These were wars that nobody thought could be stopped. President Putin called me and he said about 2 of the wars that he's been trying to stop them for 10 years. He wasn't able to do it. He couldn't believe it. So in theory, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. Every one of them was major. But I don't care about that. What I care about is saving lives. I've saved tens of millions of lives. You know, the Prime Minister of Pakistan came here, and he made a very public statement. He said that President Trump saved minimum 10 million lives having to do with Pakistan and India, and that was going to be raging. So, you know, but I'm honored that she's coming here. I look forward to meeting her, yes. Go ahead.
On Minneapolis, Mr. President, I have a follow-up for you. The state officials there have said that the FBI is not sharing evidence with them. Typically, they would conduct a joint investigation, as you know. Do you believe that the FBI should be sharing evidence with state officials in Minnesota?
Well, normally I would, but they're crooked officials. I mean, Minneapolis and Minnesota, what a beautiful place, but it's being destroyed. It's got an incompetent governor, fool. I mean, he's a stupid person. And it looks like the number could be $19 billion stolen from a lot of people, but largely people from Somalia. They buy their vote. They vote in a group. They buy their vote. They sell more Mercedes-Benzes in that area than almost... Can you imagine you come over with no money and then shortly thereafter you're driving a Mercedes-Benz? The whole thing is ridiculous. So they're very corrupt people. It's a very corrupt state. I feel that I won Minnesota. I think I won it all 3 times. Nobody's won it since Richard Nixon won it many, many years ago. I won it all 3 times, in my opinion. And it's a corrupt state, a corrupt voting state. And the Republicans ought to get smart and demand on voter ID. They ought to demand maybe same-day voting and all of the other things that you have to have a safe election. But I won Minnesota 3 times and I didn't get credit for it. I did so well in that state every time. The people were crying every time after. That's a crooked state. California is a crooked state. Many crooked states. We have a very, very dishonest voting system. The last time I won, 24, the one that just took place, I won because it was too big to rig. You couldn't rig it. It was too big. But I won the state of Minnesota. It's a corrupt voting system with an incompetent governor, a very incompetent governor.
President.
And by the way, he's a very corrupt governor, too. Go ahead.
I have a question on Iran, but first, very quickly on Venezuela. How do you provide total security guarantees to these companies without putting U.S. boots on the ground?
Well, we're going to work with the Venezuelan leaders and people, and we're going to have a very safe group, and they're going to also bring over some security with them. You know, these are not babies. These are people that drill oil in some pretty rough places. I could say a couple of those places make Venezuela look like a picnic. These people around the table, these are tough people. They go into areas that you wouldn't want to go. They go into areas that if they invited me, I'd say, no thanks, I'll see you back in Palm Beach. No, this is a tough group of people. They know how to do it. But we are, in addition to that, we'll have very good security for them. We're going to make sure there's very, very good security. And I think the people of Venezuela are going to give you very good security. You know, the people... Now, I'm not talking even leadership. The people of Venezuela are going wild over this. They named a street after President Trump. What do? You attack a country and they name a street? That's never happened before. Although I heard that's also taking place in Iran. They named a street. The protesters. I just hope, just God bless them. I just hope the protesters in Iran are going to be safe, because that's a very dangerous place right now. And again, I tell the Iranian leaders, you better not start shooting, because we'll start shooting too. With your glasses, sir, go ahead, please. Hold it. Next to you. Yes, glasses. The gentleman with the glasses.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
With those very big glasses, actually.
Yeah, Ferrari, actually. Mr. President, I have 2 questions. What do you want the European Union to do in Ukraine? The European leaders seem pretty divided on Ukraine. And then, if you can reiterate this straight message that you have to the Iranian leader, to Khomeini, the message that you have.
You're talking about Iran?
Oh, Iran, yeah.
What
the
do
first
I
one
want
is on
Iran
Europe.
to do?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from?
Italy.
Oh, nice place.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first question.
So what are you asking about Iran for?
Well, if you can answer about Europe and what you think the Europeans should do on Ukraine, and then a message.
Well, look, Europe has been doing so much for Ukraine, but it hasn't been enough. And obviously that I would say that President Putin is not afraid of Europe. He's afraid of the United States of America, as led by me. There's no fear of Europe. You know, Europe's fallen behind, and Europe, and JD said it very strongly. I don't know, he took a lot of heat, but I didn't give him any heat. Europe is a different place. Europe is changing. Europe has got to get its act together. I love Europe. I guess I came from Europe, essentially. My roots are in Europe, but Europe is a different place. They have to get their act together. Now they've said they have a great NATO leader, and they've gone up to 5% from 2% GDP. That's a big step. But they have to be very careful with their immigration policy, and they have to be because, I will just say, to be nice, that there are certain places in Europe that are very important that are no longer recognizable. I'm being very nice. I'm being very diplomatic when I say that. They are not recognizable. And they have to be careful on energy because they're putting windmills all over the place and losing a fortune. They're destroying their country. They're just destroying the beautiful landscapes, the beautiful everything. They're doing. And by the way, in case you people don't know, I'm not much of a windmill person. I can proudly say, Doug, that we have not approved one windmill since I've been in office, and we're going to keep it that way. My goal is to not let any windmill be built. They're losers. They lose money. They destroy your landscape. They kill your birds. They're all made in China. And all you have to do is, just about all of the windmills are made in China, the structures. All you have to do is say to China, how many windmill areas do you have in China? So far, they're not able to find any. They use coal and they use oil and gas and some nuclear, not much, but they don't have windmills. They make them and sell them to suckers like Europe and suckers like the United States before. They are the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy, and in 8 years they're rotted out anyway. Go take a look at Palm Springs, California, and take a look at what that looks like. It looks like a junkyard of steel. So we don't approve, and I've told my people, we will not approve windmills. Maybe we get forced to do something because some stupid person in the Biden administration agreed to do something years ago. We will not approve any windmills in this country.
Two questions. On Venezuela, is it ultimately more important to you to establish stability there or democracy there?
Well, you're talking about maybe the same thing. I mean, you're talking about stability or democracy. I don't know. To me, it's almost the same thing. We want stability, but we do want democracy. Ultimately, it'll be democracy. Peter?
I do have a policy question, President Trump, but I'm having a hard time seeing here. I see the American flag lapel pin. What is the other lapel pin on your
Somebody gave me this. You know what that is? That's called a happy Trump. And considering the fact that I'm never happy, I'm never satisfied, I will never be satisfied until we make America great again, but we're getting pretty close, I'll tell you what. This is called a happy Trump. Somebody gave it to me, I put it on.
Thank you. And the policy question. How much money are you thinking of giving people in Greenland to get them on board with a possible U.S.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor.
Wow. Whether they like it or not. That is a definitive statement. So I guess we're going to own Greenland some way, shape, or form, whether they like it or not.
Okay. I would like to make a deal of, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too. I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also, but we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, There are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger, there are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way. Please, go ahead, ma'am.
So you know that the Democrats are going to lose their mind with that kind of declarative statement. One way or the other, we will own or control Greenland. And Denmark's way too far away to do anything, so that's pretty much going to be an easy one.
On Greenland, Mr. President, why is it so important to you to own it when you have a military presence there, which you could expand to affect the security?
Because when we own it, we defend it. You don't defend leases the same way. You have to own it. And, you know, with a nation, look at what happened with Obama, with that horrible deal they made with Iran. It was a short-term deal. It was like a 9-year deal. Countries can't make 9-year deals or even 100-year deals. Countries have to have ownership. And you defend ownership, you don't defend leases. And we'll have to defend Greenland. If we don't do it, China or Russia will. It's not going to happen. We are not going to have, and I like China, I like Russia, I love the people of China, I love the people of Russia. I get along very well with President Putin, but I'm very disappointed in him. I get along very well with President Xi. I'm going to go over to China in April, but I don't want them as a neighbor in Greenland. Not going to happen. And by the way, and NATO's got to understand that. I'm all for NATO. I saved NATO. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have a NATO right now. But we're not going to allow Russia or China to occupy Greenland, and that's what's going to happen if we don't.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Go ahead.
On the economic report that came out today, Mr. President, one, can you respond to that? And two,
it was an amazing report. The most amazing thing is government jobs are way down, and yet the unemployment or the employment numbers are very good. We've gotten rid of tremendous numbers of federal government jobs. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And yet the employment numbers are very good. They're really getting better. But now we have all those people to work in the private sector for a lot more money. I think that's one of the very big things. The other thing is at 5.4%. And remember, this is after we had a shutdown. And that shutdown had an impact because the concept of the shutdown, even though it's before, people knew we were going to be shutting down. A lot of bad things happened. And by the way, on January 30th, you may have another shutdown. We'll see what happens. But I think the numbers, Caitlin, were really amazing. Look, to think about 5.4%, nobody thought that. They thought it was going to be 2%. And you know what it is? It's tariffs. And it's also November 5th. We had a great election, a great election. Our country was dead 1.5 years ago, and now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I hope you guys were impressed. 5.4%, and we haven't even really transitioned yet. There's no reason it can't be much, much higher than that. Yeah.
can you respond to the manufacturing
Let's
number?
give CNN a chance. You know, they've been fighting so hard to get back into the mainstream.
Mr. President, you posted some numbers actually on Truth Social last night. People saying you posted the job data early when you're not supposed to obviously share it till the next morning. Did you do that on purpose?
No, I don't know. If they posted them, I said post them whenever you get a chance. I don't know. They gave me some numbers. When people give me things, I post them. But the numbers are amazing. Yeah, please.
Administration plan to distribute the money from the Venezuela oil sales? Is it, obviously you say it's going to go into these controlled accounts. Yeah. Would it go back to Venezuela in a direct payment? Is it going through these goods? How do you plan to do that?
Well, we want to make sure that Venezuela can survive. You know, Venezuela needs money, and we're going to make sure that they get money, and we're going to get money, and the oil companies are going to make something for the work they do, and they're going to get back their money. We're devising a formula, but it won't be so much of a formula. It's going to be what they need. We're going to take care of what they need. There'll be plenty left over. We're going to have a lot of money left over. And the money left over is going to the United States of America, and the oil companies are going to be very happy. Yeah, please.
on Minnesota. My second question is, would the administration offer a backstop to these oil companies for like financial guarantees, some sort of backstop, if the country did destabilize again?
That's a very interesting question. Using the word backstop, I haven't heard that word in a long time. That was at the Wharton School of Finance I last heard. That's a good term. We ought to use it more often. I hope I don't have to give a backstop. I'm just, look, these are very smart people, the smartest people, though, not only in oil and business. These are the biggest companies in the world sitting around this table. They know the risks. I mean, there are risks. We're going to help them out. We're going to make it real easy. They're going to be there for a long time. We're going to be there together for a long, long time. And they're going to be taking the oil, and they're going to be bringing oil prices down. They're going to make a lot of money. They're going to get their money back. They're going to be safe. The people of Venezuela are going to be big beneficiaries, and the United States of America is going to be a big beneficiary for what we've done. And you know, one other thing I might say, it's also very big for national security because, again, just like Greenland, we can't have China or Russia occupy Greenland. We can't have China or Russia occupy Venezuela. And if we didn't do what we did, China or Russia would have been in Venezuela. I think I can, where's Mr. Chevron? So let me ask you, they would have been there if we didn't do this. Do you agree with that?
They certainly have a lot of economic interests in country. There's absolutely no argument about that.
They were trying to be there. I mean, you know, we had a Russia, I guess sort of I call it a semi-Russian ship yesterday that we took over, and Russia decided not to defend that ship against us. It's a big movement. The ship was loaded up with oil, and we took the oil, and it came out of that port. But Russia would be there or China would be there, and we want them to be there for a different reason. We want them, do you people agree? In particular, China, they need a lot of oil. Russia doesn't need so much, but Russia was there anyway. But I assume you agree that China would like to be doing a lot of business there by buying oil, and I want to just tell President Xi and President Putin, but more so in this case President Xi, because they do need a lot of oil, and we are open for business in the United States, and we are open for business in Venezuela, right? Go ahead, sure.
Mr. President,
you know,
what is your
I could take questions from these people all day long. You know, they're sitting here, and generally they're very rich, very powerful, but nobody gives a damn about them. It's a sad thing. You have all that money, all that power, and look at all these crazy questions. We could do this all day long, and they wouldn't be satisfied.
Mr. President, I have a question on today's meeting, Mr. President.
We'll take a few more, though.
I have a question on today's meeting, Mr. President.
Let me ask you more importantly, do you have any questions from the biggest?
Yes, sure.
Hold it. Do you have any questions for the biggest people on earth, the biggest business people, the biggest companies anywhere on earth? Do you have any questions for these people? No, do you have a question for them?
Yes, but have you heard from any of the companies in the room that they are committed to rebuilding the oil infrastructure in Venezuela? And for the executives in the room, what do you need from the administration in order to invest?
That's a good question. Do you want to go and answer that question?
Yeah,
Exxon, small company.
I'll refer you back to the statements I made before. There are a number of legal and commercial frameworks that would have to be established to even understand what kind of returns that we'd get on the investments. So I think all the investments and the opportunity sets, I think everyone sitting around this table would have the opportunity and the know-how and the capability to make the investments. The questions will ultimately be, how durable are the protections from a financial standpoint? What do the returns look like? What are the commercial arrangements, the legal frameworks? All those things have to be put in place in order to make a decision to understand what your return would be over the next several decades that these $1 billion investments would be made on.
You know, could I do this? Because we have, again, the biggest people on the planet Earth around this table, biggest companies in the world. I'd like to just ask them to introduce themselves. We'll start from this end and go around to here. And if you have anything to quickly say, we can do that. But you want to just start right over here? These two guys, we'll leave them out because they're with us. Please.
Thank you, President Trump. John Addison at VTOL. We're here to ensure that you are going to be able to move all of this oil all around the world at the best price possible so that the influence that you have over the Venezuelans will ensure that you get what you want.
Thank you. Thank you. Good point.
Thank you, Mr. President. Brian Sheffield of Formentera. My grandfather, Hugh Sheffield, was president of ARCO, Venezuela.
Right.
Thank you for what you did.
Do you like what we're doing?
There's a lot of shale there, a lot of upside.
He would be very happy looking down. He'd be very proud of you right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Mr. President, Luis Rodriguez. I'm probably the only Venezuelan American sitting around this table. I want to personally thank you for the courage of your actions over the last couple of weeks. I think I speak, and I speak of Venezuela in general in saying there's optimism. You've brought optimism to the table, and if the conditions are met, the opportunity is absolutely immense.
I agree with that. That's true. Thank you. Well said, too. It's immense. This is a tremendous opportunity. Thank you.
Richard Holton from Trafigura. We're working with your administration, Mr. President, to bring that Venezuelan oil to the United States. Our first vessel should load in the next week.
Great. Good job. Thank you.
I think the reason that most of us are here and thinking about the future is because we trust you initially to set this program up that will work and guarantee that this can be done. And there's a huge investment that needs to be done. We've all agreed on that. And certainly we need time to see that through. So thank you for what you've done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm Lane Riggs, CEO of Lear Energy, and we're one of those companies that refineries in the U.S. are uniquely configured to run Venezuelan oil, and we're more than happy as this opportunity expands for us to further invest in our refineries to produce more of it.
And you're very much set up for the heavy oil, right?
Yes, sir.
That's great. That's great. We're ready for it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
And thank you for opening the door to a better Venezuela. We are a Spanish company, but we are fully committed to invest here in the States. We have invested over the last 15 years $21 billion in the American oil and gas industry, in Pennsylvania, in the Gulf of America, in Texas, and in Alaska, with the discovery of Pica that is going to have the first oil this quarter and is going to change, is going to reverse the declining history of that great state of Alaska. We are in Venezuela, Mr. President, with our partners of Eni. We produce the gas that guarantees the stability of a half of the grid power in Venezuela. So we are committed with this stability, and on top of that, we are on the ground, we have people, we have facilities, we have technical capabilities, and I take your point, Mr. President. We are ready to invest more in Venezuela. Today, we are producing 45,000 barrels a day gross of oil, and we are ready to multiply by 3 this figure in coming 2-3 years, investing hard in the country, following your recommendation, if you allow us, of course, and in the framework, commercial and legal framework that could allow this growth. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Great job you've done. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you for having me. Matt Sheehy, I'm with Tallgrass Energy. We are an infrastructure business, so whether it's oil, gas, CO2, we move that around. So most of my customers are sitting around the table and happy to lend our expertise to what's going on in Venezuela to support the people. And obviously infrastructure is going to be critical to see it repaired. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you. An honor to be here. Marianne Mannon, Marathon Petroleum. We are one of the largest U.S. refiners. On behalf of the men and women of Marathon Petroleum and of our industry, thank you and the administration for what you're doing for U.S. energy independence. We have the ability and the capability of our assets to process Venezuelan crude, and the people of Marathon Petroleum stand ready to do so.
Do we need more refineries in our country?
In the U.S., probably
Yes.
not. We have sufficient capacity.
That's amazing. A lot of it was approved during my first term. We were getting you approvals that nobody could have gotten in Louisiana and other places, and they got built. Before that, it was a disaster. We didn't have the refineries. Now we do because of the first term. Please.
Darren Woods, ExxonMobil.
Okay, we'll go over here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jeff Hildebrand, founder and chairman of Hillcorp Energy, one of the largest private energy companies in America.
Who's bigger, you or Harold?
We're close.
Huh?
We're close. Harold. Absolutely, Mr. Ham. But thank you for your great, tremendous leadership in protecting the interests in the Western Hemisphere. The message that you have sent to China and our enemies to stay out of our backyard is absolutely fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And finally, Hillcorp is fully committed and ready to go to rebuilding the infrastructure in Venezuela.
You'll go there? You'll be going?
Yes.
Good. That's good. You'll be very happy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jeff Miller, CEO of Halliburton Company. We are the largest American oilfield services company. We're the second largest in the world. Been in business over 100 years. Started operations in Venezuela in 1938. Long time in Venezuela. I personally lived there for 4 years and raised my kids there. So quite familiar with Venezuela, and just couldn't express gratitude more so for the opportunity to return to Venezuela under the stability that I know that this team and your team are able to deliver. And so
when did you leave?
Huh?
When did you leave Venezuela?
As a company, we left under the sanctions in 2019. So we had intended to stay, and then when the sanctions went into place, we were required to leave. But very much interested in returning. Have 600 Venezuelans with Halliburton today, all around the world. Look forward to putting them back to work.
Great job. Great job. You'll be back. Please.
Mr. President, I'm Alex Cranberg. My company, Aspect Energy, is one of the leading American international wildcatters. We've found significant fields in central and
Are you a
south.
wildcatter?
I'm a wildcatter.
That's pretty cool, I'll tell you. I would have been a wildcatter too if I was in. And you've been successfully wildcatting.
We've found significant fields in Central and South America, in the Middle East, and in Europe. We're the leading
That's
oil
great.
producer in Hungary. But probably the most pertinent example is what a wildcatter does is take on risk and try to reduce it, and then other people come in and put more capital in later, so we're kind of kickstarters in the oil industry. We went into Kurdistan very early on, back when people told us it wasn't safe and we shouldn't do it. We found a big field there, and it ultimately has got to be developed along with one of my colleagues here to be one of the big leading fields in Kurdistan. We think that Venezuela has a tremendous amount of opportunity. If you look at the reinvestment required, the investment required, people are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. But if you put that in perspective, that's 1 million barrels a day for 15 years is $220 billion net cash flow. So what we really need to do is to be able to kickstart production and then reinvest and have the confidence to reinvest. And what you're doing by putting the United States in control of the cash flow coming out of the country, it gives companies like ours the confidence to say we can kickstart this production and then reinvest and reinvest. In Hungary, we've invested $1 billion in changing the trajectory of Hungarian oil production. We were only able to do that not because we could write $1 billion check, we're a smaller company, but because we reinvest all the cash flow back into new production.
Good.
Mark
Good
Nelson,
job.
Mark Nelson with Chevron again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Claudio Scalzi, and ICO, Italy. We started working in Venezuela in 1980. We have a lot of oil, but now just the gas is flowing because it's not under sanction. And as my colleague from Repsol said, we cover more than about 50% of the electricity in the country. So that is essential to avoid any kind of problem, social problem. We own about 4 billion barrels of reserves, so a huge amount in the Orinoco Belt and in central Venezuela. We have now in the country 500 people, most Venezuelan, and we are ready to invest. Clearly, we are ready to invest. We thank you for the big efforts and the efficiency of your action, and we are here. And we are here to work together with the U.S. We are also a big investor in the U.S. So
I know that.
We thank you again, and we are there. And we are also ready to join with American companies in our assets to develop and go faster with good investors and good know-how from the U.S. company.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've done a great job. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Ross Perot, good to see you again. I'm chairman of Hillwood and HKN Energy. I've been in the energy business 45 years, and we have been working with your team quite a bit. We have been in Kurdistan now for 19 years, along with Alex, and built a very good business. But now with your team, we're looking in Syria, we're now in Libya, and so we are very excited to look at Venezuela with you and your group, and look forward to continuing to build this great industry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you for having us here today. Wael Salwan from Shell. Of course, we have a huge presence here in the U.S., in the Gulf, as well as in Pennsylvania with a petrochemical facility, which I think we had the opportunity to host you at, as well as being one of the largest LNG off-takers of American LNG. We have been in Venezuela for a very long time. We actually drilled in 1914 the first well that discovered oil in Venezuela, and on the back of which the entire energy industry was established in Venezuela. When we left in the 1970s because of nationalization, we had 1 million barrels per day of production. But we have kept boots on the ground in Venezuela all this time, and we now have a few $1 billion worth of opportunities to invest in, subject to OFAC approval. So we are ready to go and looking forward to the investments in support of the Venezuelan people.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ben Marshall, the America's CEO for Vitol. Alongside Trafigura, we're very thankful to have worked with the government and the Venezuelans to be able to bring the crude oil to market at a market price as quickly as we can to help stabilize the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Lance, ConocoPhillips. I'll defer to my colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. President. Olivier Lepoche, CEO of SLB, or formerly known as Schlumberger, the largest global oilfield services. We have been in Venezuela since 1930, and we still operate. We operate today on the ground with and in support of Chevron. We have ability to scale. We have 1,100 Venezuelans in the company, 2,000 additional that are calling us to go back to country and to go back to work. We're able to mobilize in the last 18 months 2 rigs and deliver 50 wells with success. So we're here. We have knowledge of the subsurface like nobody else has. We have boots on the ground, capacity on the ground, $700 million of equipment value on the ground in Venezuela, ready to mobilize for all of our partners, customers. So we are ready to scale fast, and we really want to thank the administration, Secretary Wright, Secretary Bergen, for the effort they are supporting and giving us to be successful on behalf of the Venezuelan oil and gas industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, check this out. They say the very best for last. And I don't have that sexy accent like this guy next to me here. Mr. President, my name's Bill Armstrong of Armstrong Oil and Gas. I'm a private independent guy. And in real estate, you were a wildcatter. So wear that motto proudly. But like you, I was my own guy. I don't have shareholders. I don't have private equity partners, but I've been drilling all over the place. In fact, I had the largest discovery in Alaska, biggest discovery in 50 years in our country. I now control 8 million acres adjacent to Venezuela, so I'm already heavily invested in the area. We share a 150-mile border with Venezuela in the countries of Aruba and Curacao, and we are ready to go to Venezuela. It is, in real estate terms, it is prime real estate, and it's kind of like West Palm about 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Very ripe.
Yep, I agree with you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I think what we're going to do is speak without the press to these gentlemen, see what kind of a deal we can make. We're going to get them involved. I'm going to ask Doug and Chris and some of the people that we have from the business standpoint representing our country to start talking about the confines of a deal. I have an idea what I want, what I think we should have. We have to get them to invest, and then we have to get their money back as quickly as we can, and then we can divvy it all up between Venezuela, the United States, and them. I think it's simple. I think the formula is simple. We start with a brand new plate, and it's going to be a tremendous success. I think it's going to be probably like few other things could ever be. There's so much. Venezuela's been really taken advantage of by a lot of people because they drill very little. I mean, as much as you hear they drill very, very little, very small percentage. But now that'll change, and it'll change very rapidly because these are the biggest people, and it'll change very rapidly. So if you don't mind, I'll ask the press to leave, and we will see what kind of a deal we're going to make with these geniuses, and I think you're going to come out very good. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So depending on the time frame, that meeting ended somewhere probably right about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. After that meeting, as you just heard, President Trump closed it, asked press to leave so they could see if they could come to a deal. And as they were working on the deal, or after that, President Trump got on a plane and came down here to Palm Beach. This was him leaving to go to the airport to come down here. And it's already dark, so I'm not sure if they have the time. This was at 7:24, he said this.
We just had a great meeting with the oil executives. We've sort of formed a deal. They're going to be going in with hundreds of billions of dollars and drilling oil, and it's good for Venezuela, and it's great for the United States. A lot of money is going to be made. Oil prices will come down, although they are getting down pretty good now without it. And it was a great meeting we had today with the biggest companies anywhere in the world.
President Trump announced as he was leaving to go to Joint Base Andrews to come down here, he has secured a deal. He has secured a deal for them to go in and put hundreds of billions of dollars, as he said, into Venezuela. Yeah. In fact, I think that deserves this.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
And then, if that wasn't enough winning, I got something else to tell you. And that something else is, obviously, while he was on the plane heading down here, he had another idea. And here, this one, again, knowing things that actually affect your pocket, your life. Please be informed that we will no longer let the American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30% or even more, which festered unimpeded during the Sleepy Joe Biden administration. Affordability, effective January 20th, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. Coincidentally, the January 20th date will coincide with the one-year anniversary of the historic and very successful Trump administration. Thank you again for your attention to this matter. 10%. Now, I don't know if he can mandate that they go to 10%. I don't know what mechanism he has that would require them to lower their interest rates to 10%. But I'm pretty sure that none of these banks want to get on his bad side and that they probably will acquiesce and drop things to 10%. Now, depending on your personal credit cards, and this is something you guys can check yourselves, what are you paying for your rates right now? I'd like to see that in the comments. What are you guys paying for credit card rates as you sit here today on January 9th? And if it's more than 10%, the likelihood is you're about to get a big bump in your pocket. Instead of having to pay 15, 20, 30, 28%, now your interest rate will drop to 10. And I'm looking at here, I feel like, OMG. What's he say here? Barry, what's that say? Barry, what the F is really happening? Man, our country better look up. Yeah, exactly. 11.49. Wow, 27 to 30% is what one person here. Somebody says 22%. 28. So just imagine right now, 20 plus percent. If in a week from now or 2 weeks, or what is it? 13 days, 12 days, you're going to be paying 10%. I would hate at this point, I would absolutely hate to work in customer service at a bank right now or a credit card company, because as soon as it happens, everybody's going, hey, I understand you're going to lower my rate to 10%. And I'd love to know what some of these banks are going to say with that, because they're going to get deluged with calls. That's the kind of information we need to be looking at. When President Trump in that press conference openly said, and I don't know if you guys really grasped it, we now, in one way, shape, or the other, control 55% of the world's oil. Let me say that again. We now control 55% of not the Western Hemisphere, of not America, of the world's oil. That's freaking huge. Absolutely huge. And so people are paying attention to the other stuff, and all this here. Another thing I put up in breaking news. There was three like really breaking news ones. I forget what was there. One was they sent 1,000 more ICE or Border Patrol agents into Minnesota, so they're not backing down. They sent 1,000 more in there. In addition, Brooke Rowlands cut off all SNAP payments to the Minnesota area. They're done. They're not getting any more money. They'll go to court. The judge will get a federal judge, a whack job judge. They'll say, no, you got to keep paying them. And then it'll get tied up in court forever. So at least they're showing people they're willing to do something by cutting it off. The third story was it appears that Iran may fall by as soon as Monday. So there's so much going on. And this here, you could tell the press, most of the press was trying to deflect and not let this story be what they really want to report. And Caitlin Collins is talking about all kinds of craziness so she can run back to, her show comes on in like 10 minutes. So I'm sure she took whatever information she could, but they don't see. You should probably turn it on and see how much she's going to talk about this. See how much they're going to talk about America controlling 55% of the world's oil. See if they're going to talk about he's going to take Greenland one way or the other. There is so much stuff happening. And as I showed you the stuff earlier, talking to Howard Lutnick, I didn't even have a chance to get into all the stuff that Scott Bessent said. So tomorrow I've got that stuff with Scott Bessent, and I have an interview I taped today with one of the people over at DHS. So you're going to hear that tomorrow as well. Normally I don't do stuff on Saturdays and Sundays, but man, there's so much to talk about. So I'm glad you guys tuned in. I hope that was a extremely beneficial information. It's different than what you normally hear, but if you don't hear it from me or whatever source, maybe CNBC, you're not going to hear it. They're not going to cover it. Excuse me. Even Fox may give a blip. They may give 30 seconds, but they're not going to talk and let you hear. Excuse me. They're not going to let you hear that from all those people. And Howard Lutnick. It's just so much, absolutely so much. All right, so let me, as my voice is beginning to end for the evening, let me do super chats and then we will convene tomorrow. You guys can go watch the football game. I bet you there's going to be a whole lot of people at a football game. Remember I keep telling you that? Real life isn't on X. Going to be a whole lot of people watching. Who's playing today? Indiana, and I forget who they're playing in the semifinals. Ooh, excuse me. So let me do that. It just all of a sudden decided to go. It's pretty crazy. All right, let me show you this. Let me go here right off the bat so I don't miss this. Who's this? Olga Harajan. Thank you, Olga, from your biggest Hispanic fan in Chicago. We should plan a fanfare Greenland group vacation for our community. I've always wanted to see the Northern Lights. I've never seen the Northern Lights either. That would be pretty effing amazing. But we got to do it in August. I posted, I can't be doing Greenland in January, February. August I could probably do. Larry, I have a Trump AR-15 with the presidential logo and Trump's signature on the upper receiver and fight on the mag. The image of Trump's arm in the air as he said it below it. Oh, that's pretty awesome. That's really awesome. I went the wrong way. Okay. Fikowski, what about emotional fraud? Exactly. They've been stealing us blind for so long. Fielka, Dems are using Jim Jones' playbook. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like that you said that. It's getting pretty dark. And what do you think is going to happen when 1,000 more officers show up in Minnesota? They're going to go nuts. I pray for Pray for these people that are going to be there. Let's see here. Instead of watching the Minnesota crap, I've been watching videos on Charles Schwab website, learning about investing in EFTs and silver, and transferred 50% of my little 401k to Schwab, self-driven to do that. Let me go ahead and give you that. Gotta give you up to that. There you go. Yeah, Pekoski, YouTube. It is what it is. Brian Newland, thank you, Barry. This is huge. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Pekoski, Mom and Pop's business revival. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. Cutting edge. Every age can invest on this. Thank you, God, for protecting President Trump and to continue protecting him. James Hammond, nobody is talking about increasing Social Security. Maybe the objective is to get people away from Social Security. Let's think about that. Steve Anderson, absolutely love Barry and the Mod Squad. Thank you very much. Somebody asked about SB. I think I told you he's got a pickleball tournament this weekend. Vibe Wired, I'm going to wager a bet. If he leaves office, President Trump should do a world tour and do stand-up. He clearly missed his calling. I could agree with that. Mark Whitener, thank you. Steve Anderson, more Bibles. Thank you very much. By the way, I got somebody working on the website, so we should be operational next week. But they're still going out because we still have people in backlog. Sweat G, thank you, Barry. This is definitely helping me. No problem. Steve Anderson, stay strong together. Alone we will fail. And don't let them take your eyes off the stuff that you can do to improve your life. Steve Anderson, make the Keystone Pipeline great again. Yep, free Tina Peters. That would be pretty smart. Pekoski, enjoying the ride. Larry, 17 again. That was one I read earlier. Okay. Jameis Crow, thank you. Chiosop, imagine Kamala negotiating a deal with oil companies. I can only laugh at that. I can only laugh at you saying, imagine Kamala negotiating oil deals. She wouldn't even know what a wildcat was. She'd think that it's an animal in a zoo. My God. And Nia, thank you, Barry. Great show and news. All I keep thinking of, the 1-2 gigawatts, 55% of oil in the world. President Trump is awesome. We are blessed. Indeed. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in on a Friday evening. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. We shall see you probably tomorrow. We'll see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.